So hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to Proxima What Ifs. So we are back with a brand new movie on what if Rimuru went in high school DxD and got harem. But before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. Chapter 1. Arrival in a new world. The cosmos swirled in a breathtaking kaleidoscope of colors as Rimuru Tempest, the illustrious slime lord of the Rimuru Tempest Federation, floated through the dimensional rift. The sheer magnitude of the warp was both awe-inspiring and disorienting. As the last vestiges of his previous world faded away, Rimuru felt the pull of an unknown force dragging him through the fabric of reality. The sensation was exhilarating yet unsettling, akin to riding a tempestuous storm of energy. In a blinding flash, the rift closed behind him, and Rimuru found himself suspended in midair above an unfamiliar landscape. The sheer scale of the world before him was overwhelming. Towering skyscrapers with gleaming glass facades rose alongside ancient shrines with intricate woodwork, forming a striking contrast that piqued Rimuru's curiosity. The sky overhead was a vibrant mix of twilight hues, blending into the shimmering lights of the city below. It was a place where the modern met the mystical, creating an atmosphere charged with latent energy. As Rimuru descended gently to the ground, he took a moment to acclimate to his surroundings. The air was thick with a unique blend of supernatural and mundane energies. His heightened senses, honed through countless battles and adventures, picked up on the faint, yet unmistakable, presence of otherworldly entities mingling with the human populace. Seal, his ever-loyal companion and a powerful entity in her own right, materialized beside him. Her form was a luminous, ethereal blue, radiating an aura of calm and control. Analysis complete, Rimuru, Ciel's voice echoed in his mind, smooth and authoritative. We've arrived in a realm where supernatural beings such as devils, angels, and fallen angels coexist. This world exhibits a complex hierarchy and political landscape. Rimuru's curiosity was piqued. I see. Let's gather more information. The sooner we understand the intricacies of this world, the better we can navigate it. Ciel's holographic interface flickered to life, displaying a detailed map of the city. Key locations were highlighted, including the prestigious Kuoh Academy, the headquarters of the influential Gremory clan, and several other significant landmarks. The Kuoh Academy seems to be a central hub for supernatural activity. It may be beneficial for us to start our exploration there. Rimuru nodded thoughtfully. Agreed. Let's head to the academy and see what we can uncover. The journey to Kuoh Academy was a sensory overload. The city was alive with a symphony of sounds and sights. People bustled about, their lives seemingly mundane yet tinged with an undercurrent of hidden power. Rimuru's keen senses detected the concealed presence of various supernatural entities, their auras hidden beneath layers of illusion and normalcy. As Rimuru approached the academy, he marveled at the building's architecture. The structure was a blend of traditional Japanese design and modern aesthetics, creating an atmosphere of serene sophistication. The academy's grounds were meticulously maintained, with lush greenery and tranquil water features adding to its charm. Despite the peaceful appearance, Rimuru could feel the underlying tension in the air, a sign of the supernatural forces at play. Upon entering the academy grounds, Rimuru was greeted by the sight of students in neatly pressed uniforms moving between classes. Their chatter and laughter created a lively backdrop against the otherwise serene setting. Yet, beneath the surface, Rimuru sensed a palpable energy that hinted at the presence of powerful beings. Ciel's sensors detected an anomaly in the vicinity, a surge of supernatural energy that was distinctly out of place. Rimuru, there is a disturbance nearby. It would be prudent for us to investigate. Rimuru's gaze followed the energy signature, leading him to an open field adjacent to the academy. The scene before him was a chaotic clash of supernatural forces. A group of devils, identifiable by their striking crimson wings and demonic auras, were engaged in a fierce battle with a fallen angel. The fallen angel's appearance was imposing, with dark, tattered wings and an aura of malevolent power. In the midst of the battle stood Rias Gremory, a striking figure with long crimson hair cascading over her shoulders and a commanding presence that demanded respect. Her eyes, sharp and focused, conveyed a mixture of determination and concern as she directed her subordinates in the fight. Despite her best efforts, it was clear that the fallen angel was a formidable adversary, and the devils were struggling to gain the upper hand. Rimuru observed the conflict from a safe distance, his analytical mind processing the details of the battle. The devils were skilled fighters, but the fallen angel's power was overwhelming. Rimuru recognized that if the situation continued unchecked, the devils might face severe consequences. Without hesitation, Rimuru decided to intervene. He floated into the fray, his presence initially undetected. As he approached, he activated a protective barrier that shielded the devils from the fallen angel's attacks. The barrier absorbed the incoming energy, neutralizing the threat and creating a sudden reprieve in the battle. The fallen angel, momentarily taken aback, turned its attention to Rimuru. Its eyes widened in surprise as it faced this unexpected intervention. Rias and her team paused, their expressions shifting from confusion to awe as they took in the sight of this new ally. Rias, her crimson eyes sharp and assessing, stepped forward. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice authoritative and filled with both curiosity and caution. Rimuru floated forward, his form shimmering with a gentle blue light. "I'm just someone who happened to be passing by. It seemed like you could use a bit of help." With a swift and precise series of movements, Rimuru neutralized the fallen angel's attacks, carefully avoiding causing permanent harm. The fallen angel, realizing it was outmatched, retreated with a defiant glare before vanishing into the shadows. The battlefield fell into a tense silence as Rias and her team regrouped. Their eyes remained fixed on Rimuru, their expressions a blend of relief and wariness. Rias stepped closer, her gaze scrutinizing the enigmatic figure before her. "Thank you for your timely intervention," Rias said, her tone softening with genuine gratitude. "My name is Rias Gremory, and these are my associates." Rimuru inclined his head politely. "I'm Rimuru Tempest. It's a pleasure to meet you." Rias's eyes softened further as she observed Rimuru's demeanor. "You're not from around here, are you? There's something unusual about you." Rimuru chuckled lightly, his eyes reflecting a mixture of amusement and curiosity. "You could say that. I'm still getting acquainted with this world, and I couldn't simply stand by while you were in danger." Rias nodded thoughtfully. "Well, we're certainly grateful for your help. That fallen angel posed a significant threat, and your assistance made a difference. If you're new here, you might find it beneficial to join us. We could use someone with your abilities." Rimuru considered the offer. He was intrigued by Rias and her team, and he recognized that aligning with them could provide valuable insights into the supernatural dynamics of this world. "I appreciate the offer. I'd be glad to assist and learn more about your world." Rias smiled warmly, her eyes reflecting a blend of relief and curiosity. "Excellent. Follow me, and I'll introduce you to the rest of our team." As Rimuru followed Rias to the headquarters of the Occult Research Club, he couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. The world of Highschool DxD was unlike anything he had encountered before, and the presence of powerful beings like Rias suggested that there were many layers to unravel. Inside the Occult Research Club's headquarters, Rimuru was introduced to Rias's team. Akeno Hamejima, a graceful and enigmatic priestess with an air of mystery. Kaneko Daju, a stoic and powerful knight with an impressive array of abilities. And Issei Hyodo, a well-meaning but often perverted young devil whose enthusiasm was both endearing and comical. The interactions were a mix of formal introductions and light-hearted banter. Akino's eyes lingered on Rimuru with a curious glint, while Kaneko's reserved nature provided a contrast to Issei's enthusiastic personality. Despite the initial awkwardness, Rimuru could sense the genuine camaraderie among the team members. Rias took the opportunity to explain the mission and objectives of the Occult Research Club. They were dedicated to maintaining balance between the supernatural and human worlds, resolving conflicts, and uncovering hidden truths. Rimuru listened attentively, absorbing the information and evaluating how he could contribute to their efforts. As the day drew to a close, Rias and Rimuru found themselves alone in the clubroom, the atmosphere shifting from the excitement of battle to a more relaxed and introspective mood. Rias's earlier formality had given way to a more genuine demeanor, and she regarded Rimuru with a mix of admiration and curiosity. "I'm glad you decided to join us, Rimuru," Rias said, her voice softening. "Your assistance today was exceptional. I have a feeling that you'll become a valuable asset to our team." Rimuru smiled warmly, his eyes reflecting a sense of contentment. "I'm pleased to be of help. I'm still learning about this world, and I appreciate the chance to work alongside you and your team." Rias looked at Rimuru with a thoughtful expression. "There's something unique about you, Rimuru. I can sense that you're not just an ordinary being." Rimuru chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "You're perceptive. I do have my own set of abilities and experiences. I'm curious to see how they fit into this world." Their conversation continued, filled with mutual respect and a growing sense of camaraderie. Rias and Rimuru shared insights about their respective worlds, finding common ground in their experiences and aspirations. The connection between them deepened, setting the stage for the adventures that lay ahead. As the night settled in, Rimuru felt a sense of belonging and anticipation for the journey ahead. The world of Highschool DxD was filled with mysteries and challenges, but with newfound allies and a growing sense of purpose, Rimuru was ready to explore its depths and uncover its secrets. In the quiet of the night, Rias and Rimuru shared a moment of understanding, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. Rimuru knew that this world held many opportunities and challenges, and he was eager to embrace them with his newfound friends. Chapter 2. The Occult Research Club the following day at Kuoh Academy was marked by a blend of normalcy and underlying intrigue. Rimuru, now a temporary member of the Occult Research Club, walked through the school's hallways, taking in the bustling environment. The students went about their daily routines, seemingly oblivious to the hidden supernatural tensions that Rimuru sensed around them. Rias Gremory had invited Rimuru to attend classes as a way to better integrate him into the environment of the academy and to allow him to observe the daily interactions of the students. Rimuru, ever curious, agreed, understanding that it would provide him with valuable insights into this world. Inside a classroom, Rimuru took a seat near the back. The room was filled with students who appeared to be regular teenagers, their discussions ranging from trivial school gossip to personal anecdotes. The lesson began with a teacher explaining historical events, but Rimuru's attention was divided between the lesson and the subtle supernatural energies he detected from some of his classmates. Among the students, Rimuru noted a few with a distinct aura, subtle, yet noticeably different from the others. He could sense a faint demonic or angelic presence that indicated their supernatural nature. Ciel's voice provided additional context. "Rimuru, some of these students are likely supernatural beings in disguise. It's crucial to understand their roles and how they influence the balance of power in this world." Rimuru nodded, absorbing the information. "Understood. I'll keep an eye on them." The class ended, and Rimuru made his way to the Occult Research Club room for the first official meeting. As he approached, he saw Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, and Issei gathered inside, preparing for their next activity. The room was adorned with various occult symbols and artifacts, giving it an air of mystique and intrigue. "Good morning, Rimuru," Rias greeted him with a warm smile as he entered. "Today, we have a few matters to discuss. I'd like you to meet the rest of our team and familiarize yourself with our current projects." Rimuru nodded, settling into a comfortable chair as Rias began to outline their activities. "We have a few ongoing issues that require our attention. Our primary focus is maintaining the balance between supernatural and human affairs. This involves handling conflicts, negotiating with other factions, and occasionally dealing with threats that could disrupt the peace." Issei, ever enthusiastic, chimed in. "We also have school events and personal issues to manage. It's a bit of a juggling act, but we make it work." Akeno, with her enigmatic aura, added, "And sometimes, we have to address more personal matters and hidden threats that may not be immediately apparent." Kaneko, with her usual stoic expression, simply nodded in agreement, her eyes observing Rimuru with a hint of curiosity. Rimuru listened attentively, noting the diverse roles and responsibilities each member of the team had. He could sense the depth of their commitment and the bond they shared. "It sounds like you have a lot on your plate. How can I assist?" Rias smiled, her eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and appreciation. "We're currently investigating a series of disturbances in the city. There have been reports of increased supernatural activity and a few incidents involving rogue entities. We need someone with your abilities to help us assess the situation and provide support." Rimuru nodded, his mind already shifting into problem-solving mode. "I'll be happy to help. What's the plan?" Rias outlined their approach. They would start by investigating a recent incident where a demonic artifact had caused a disturbance in a local park. The artifact had been found near a shrine, and there were concerns that it might attract unwanted attention or cause further issues. As the team prepared to head out, Rias gave Rimuru a brief overview of the artifact and its potential significance. The artifact is said to have been created by an ancient demonic faction. It has the ability to amplify supernatural energies and could potentially cause a lot of harm if left unchecked. With that, the team set out for the park. The area was lush and serene, with a peaceful atmosphere that contrasted sharply with the gravity of their mission. As they arrived, Rimuru's senses were on high alert, scanning the surroundings for any signs of supernatural disturbances. The park was relatively quiet, with a few joggers and families enjoying the outdoors. However, Rimuru could feel an undercurrent of energy that indicated the presence of the demonic artifact. CL's analysis confirmed the energy signature, pinpointing its location near the shrine at the center of the park. As the team approached the shrine, Rimuru noted the presence of several individuals who seemed to be lingering nearby. They were dressed in traditional attire and appeared to be performing some sort of ritual. Their aura was distinct, revealing them to be members of a rival faction. Rias and her team took up strategic positions, ready to address any potential threats. Rimuru approached the shrine with a calm and composed demeanor, his senses finely tuned to detect any anomalies. As he reached the artifact, he could see its dark, ornate surface, emanating a faint, ominous glow. The rival faction's leader, a tall figure with a commanding presence and a sharp gaze, stepped forward. "So, you've come for the artifact. It seems we have a common interest." Rias stepped forward, her expression firm. "We're here to ensure that the artifact doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Its power is too dangerous to be used recklessly." The leader's eyes narrowed, but he maintained a calm demeanor. "And what makes you think you're any more qualified to handle it?" Rimuru, sensing the tension, intervened with a diplomatic approach. "We're not here to argue. Our goal is to prevent any harm from coming to the city. If we can work together, we might be able to resolve this situation peacefully." The leader studied Rimuru with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Very well. Let's see how well you can handle the artifact." With that, the rival faction stepped aside, allowing Rimuru and Rias's team to examine the artifact more closely. Rimuru used his abilities to assess the artifact's properties, determining that it was indeed amplifying supernatural energies. He quickly formulated a plan to neutralize its effects without causing harm. As Rimuru and Rias worked together, they were able to stabilize the artifact and prevent it from causing further disturbances. The rival faction watched in silence, their expressions reflecting a mix of grudging respect and wariness. Once the artifact was secured and the situation was under control, Rias approached Rimuru with a grateful smile. "Thank you for your help today. Your expertise was invaluable." Rimuru smiled back, his eyes reflecting a sense of accomplishment. "It was a team effort. I'm glad we were able to resolve the issue." As the team prepared to leave the park, Rias took a moment to speak with Rimuru privately. "You've proven yourself to be a valuable ally. I'm looking forward to seeing what else you can bring to the table." Rimuru's gaze softened as he regarded Rias. "Thank you. I'm eager to contribute and learn more about this world." Their conversation ended as they returned to the academy, ready to tackle the next challenge. The day's events had solidified Rimuru's place in the Occult Research Club, and he felt more connected to his new surroundings. Chapter 3. Unveiling secrets. The days following their investigation at the park were filled with routine yet intriguing activities. Rimuru had settled into his role with the Occult Research Club, assisting with various supernatural matters and learning more about the complexities of this new world. His growing familiarity with Rias and her team allowed him to integrate seamlessly into their operations, yet he remained vigilant, aware that he was still uncovering layers of this world's mysteries. One afternoon, as Rimuru was perusing through a collection of ancient texts and grimoires in the clubroom, Akano entered with a concerned expression. "Rias has asked for your assistance," she said. "We've encountered an unusual situation that requires your expertise." Rimuru looked up from his reading, curious. "What's the situation?" Akino's gaze was serious. "There have been reports of a new supernatural disturbance near an old mansion on the outskirts of town. We suspect it might be linked to an ancient and powerful artifact. Rias believes it's something beyond our usual scope of problems." Rimuru closed the book with a thoughtful nod. "Let's go see what's happening." Upon arriving at the mansion, the atmosphere was eerie. The once grand structure was now dilapidated, with overgrown vines and cracked windows adding to its haunting appearance. The air was thick with supernatural energy, a palpable sense of foreboding that made Rimuru's senses tingle. Rias, Akano, Kaneko, and Issei were already on site, examining the area. Rias approached Rimuru with a determined look. "We've detected an anomaly in the mansion's basement. We believe it's where the artifact is located." Rimuru nodded, ready to lend his aid. "Lead the way." As they ventured into the mansion, the atmosphere grew colder and more oppressive. The once opulent interior was now shrouded in darkness, with the air heavy with dust and decay. The group made their way down to the basement, where the energy signature was strongest. The basement was dimly lit by flickering torches mounted on the walls. At its center stood an ornate pedestal with an ancient, intricately designed box resting atop it. The box emitted a faint, pulsating glow that matched the energy signature they had detected. Rias and Akeno examined the box with a mix of caution and curiosity. "This must be the artifact," Rias said. "It's said to be a powerful relic with the ability to manipulate time and space." Rimuru approached the pedestal, his senses attuned to the artifact's energy. "It's definitely a powerful artifact. We should be careful in how we handle it." As Rimuru examined the box, he noticed a series of runes carved into its surface. They seemed to be a form of magical seal designed to contain or protect the artifact's power. This seal is complex and ancient. It's designed to prevent the artifact from being misused. Issei, ever the enthusiastic member, was unable to contain his curiosity. "So, what do we do with it?" Before Rimuru could respond, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. The figure, clad in dark robes, exuded an aura of malevolence and power. "I see you've found my artifact," the figure said, their voice dripping with menace. "I wouldn't have expected such an intrusion." Rias stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "Who are you? What is your connection to this artifact?" The figure chuckled darkly. "I am a sorcerer from a long-forgotten order, dedicated to reclaiming what was stolen from us. This artifact is a key to unlocking a power beyond imagination. You're meddling in forces you cannot comprehend." Rimuru's eyes narrowed as he assessed the sorcerer. The energy emanating from the figure was potent, but it was clear that their intentions were harmful. "You won't be allowed to use this artifact for your own ends." The sorcerer's expression darkened, then prepared to face the consequences. With a swift motion, the sorcerer unleashed a wave of dark energy toward the group. Rias and her team were quick to react, deploying their abilities to counter the attack. Akeno summoned a barrage of lightning bolts, while Kaneko unleashed a series of powerful strikes to fend off the sorcerer's assault. Rimuru, however, remained calm. He raised a hand, and a shimmering barrier formed around the group, absorbing the dark energy and neutralizing its effects. "Allow me to handle this." The sorcerer's eyes widened in surprise as Rimuru's barrier effortlessly contained the attack. Rimuru floated forward, his form glowing with an ethereal light. "You're outmatched. Surrender now, and no harm will come to you." The sorcerer's expression twisted with rage. "You underestimate me." With a flick of his wrist, the sorcerer conjured a vortex of dark energy, intent on overwhelming Rimuru. However, Rimuru's response was swift and decisive. He channeled his own energy, countering the vortex with a wave of pure, radiant power that dispelled the sorcerer's attack and rendered him vulnerable. The sorcerer staggered back, their confidence shattered. "This isn't over," they growled, before vanishing into the shadows with a final burst of dark energy. Rias and her team regrouped, their expressions a mix of relief and concern. "That was intense," Issei remarked, his usual bravado subdued by the encounter. Rimuru nodded, his gaze focused on the artifact. The sorcerer was clearly determined to obtain this artifact for a dangerous purpose. "We need to ensure it is properly secured and its power contained." Rias approached Rimuru with a grateful smile. "Thank you for your assistance. Your intervention was crucial." Rimuru returned the smile, his eyes reflecting a sense of camaraderie. "I'm glad I could help. We should work together to keep this artifact safe and prevent any further threats." As the group prepared to leave the mansion, Rias took a moment to speak with Rimuru privately. "You've proven yourself to be an invaluable asset to our team. I'm grateful for your help and look forward to our continued work together." Rimuru's gaze softened. "Thank you, Rias. I'm eager to continue our efforts and face whatever challenges come our way." With the artifact secured and the immediate threat dealt with, the team returned to the academy, ready to tackle the next challenge. The encounter had revealed the depth of the dangers they faced and underscored the importance of their mission. As Rimuru walked through the academy's grounds, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mysteries of the supernatural world were vast and complex, but with allies like Rias and her team, he was prepared to uncover the truth and protect those in need. Chapter 4. Bonds and Revelations. The following week at Kuoh Academy was unusually quiet. The excitement from their recent encounter with the sorcerer had settled, and Rias and her team were focused on resuming their routine tasks. For Rimuru, it was an opportunity to further integrate into the daily life of the Academy while continuing to explore the supernatural aspects of his new world. One afternoon, Rimuru found himself in the Academy's library, where he had been poring over texts related to the supernatural. The library was vast, filled with ancient tomes and modern references. Rimuru appreciated the quiet environment as he worked, his mind absorbed in the arcane knowledge before him. Rias approached with a stack of books in her arms. "Rimuru, I thought you might be interested in these. They contain information about some of the major supernatural factions and artifacts we've encountered." Rimuru looked up from his reading, a smile touching his lips. "Thank you, Rias. This will be very helpful." As Rias joined him at a nearby table, her expression turned contemplative. "I've been thinking about the sorcerer and their claim about the artifact. It's clear there's more to this situation than we initially understood. I want to ensure that we're prepared for any further developments." Rimuru nodded, understanding the gravity of her concern. The supernatural world is complex. It's important to stay alert and prepared for any emerging threats. Their discussion was interrupted by Akeno, Kaneko, and Issei, who entered with a mix of excitement and urgency. "We've been working on some new strategies and wanted to get your input," Akeno said, placing a detailed map of the city on the table. The group gathered around the map, analyzing various locations and potential scenarios. Rimuru offered his insights, drawing on his experiences and knowledge. The collaborative effort helped refine their approach, and Rias appreciated the fresh perspective. As the meeting concluded, Kaneko voiced a practical concern. "We should also reinforce our defenses around the Academy. Given recent events, it's clear we need to be more proactive." Rias agreed, her tone resolute. "We'll increase our vigilance and ensure the Academy's protection is robust." With their plan in place, the team split up to carry out their tasks. Rimuru decided to explore the city that evening, taking in the sights and reflecting on his experiences. His wanderings led him to a serene park, a quiet respite from the bustling urban landscape. While he sat on a bench, enjoying the calm of the evening, Rias arrived, having followed him discreetly. She joined him, her presence a reassuring one. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said softly. Rimuru smiled, appreciating her company. "Not at all. It's nice to have a moment of peace." Rias sat beside him, her gaze thoughtful. "I've been reflecting on our recent challenges. It's clear there's more at play, and I'm grateful for your support and insights." Rimuru's eyes met hers, reflecting a deep sense of connection. "I'm glad to be here and to be part of this team. It's important to me that I contribute meaningfully." Their conversation flowed naturally, touching on their experiences and the challenges they faced. Rias shared her concerns about the increasing threats and her desire to protect those she cared about. Rimuru spoke about his own journey and his commitment to understanding the complexities of this world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the park, Rias and Rimuru found solace in each other's presence. The moment was a quiet affirmation of their growing bond, forged through shared experiences and mutual respect. Their time together provided both a sense of clarity and a renewed commitment to their mission. As they left the park, the bond between them was strengthened, paving the way for their continued journey together. Chapter 5. Shadows of the Past. The following day was filled with routine academic activities and supernatural errands. The atmosphere at Kuoh Academy felt normal, but an undercurrent of tension lingered from the recent encounter with the sorcerer. Rias and her team were focused on their ongoing tasks, but Rimuru sensed that something more significant was looming on the horizon. That afternoon, Rias and Rimuru were in the clubroom, sorting through new intelligence reports and strategizing their next steps. The room was bathed in soft light filtering through the windows, casting a warm glow over the eclectic mix of occult artifacts and mystical symbols. Rias looked up from a stack of reports, her expression serious. "Rimuru, there's been a development. We've received information about a meeting of several supernatural factions in a remote location. It's rumored to involve a discussion about ancient relics and power shifts." Rimuru leaned forward, intrigued. "This sounds significant. What do we know about the factions involved?" Akeno, who had joined them, chimed in. "The factions include a powerful demon clan, a secretive order of mages, and a faction of rogue angels. The meeting could be about forming alliances or making power plays. Either way, it's something we should investigate." Rias nodded. "We need to understand their motives and ensure that no dangerous decisions are made. I want us to attend and gather as much information as possible." Rimuru's gaze was thoughtful. "It's clear that the stakes are high. I suggest we approach this with caution and make sure we're prepared for any potential conflicts." As they planned their approach, Issei and Kaneko arrived, ready to contribute their own insights and suggestions. Issei's enthusiasm was palpable, while Kaneko's focused demeanor provided a grounding influence. "I'll take on reconnaissance," Kaneko said, her voice steady. "I can gather information discreetly and assess the security of the location." "Excellent," Rias replied. "Issei, you'll provide support and be ready for any immediate threats. Akeno, you and I will focus on gathering intelligence and navigating the political dynamics of the meeting." Rimuru nodded, his mind already strategizing. "I'll assist with both reconnaissance and support, and I'll be prepared to intervene if necessary." With their roles defined, the team prepared for their mission. As night fell, they made their way to the remote location, a secluded mansion nestled deep in a dense forest. The mansion was an imposing structure, its grandeur hidden beneath layers of ivy and shadow. The team split into their designated roles. Kaneko blended into the surroundings, her presence nearly imperceptible. Rimuru and Akeno approached the mansion with caution, while Issei and Rias provided cover from a distance. Inside the mansion, Rimuru and Akeno navigated the labyrinthine corridors, guided by the faint hum of supernatural energy. The meeting was held in a grand hall, where representatives from the various factions had gathered. The room was filled with a palpable sense of tension and anticipation. Rias and Akeno positioned themselves strategically to overhear conversations, while Rimuru used his abilities to discreetly analyze the discussions. The representatives were engaged in heated debates about the ancient relics and their potential to shift the balance of power. "The relics hold the key to controlling the flow of magic across dimensions," one of the demon representatives argued. "We must secure them before our rivals do." Another figure, cloaked in dark robes, countered. "And what about the consequences? Using such power recklessly could have catastrophic effects on the fabric of reality." As Rimuru listened, he could sense the undercurrents of manipulation and ulterior motives. He shared his observations with Rias through a discreet communication channel. "The factions are clearly vying for control of these relics," Rimuru noted. "There's a lot at stake, and it's evident that some are willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve their goals." Rias responded, her voice tinged with concern. "We need to be cautious. If these factions decide to form an alliance or engage in open conflict, it could destabilize the entire region." As the meeting progressed, Kaneko's reconnaissance revealed additional information about the mansion's security measures and the presence of hidden guards. She relayed this intelligence to Rimuru and Akeno, allowing them to navigate the mansion more effectively. The discussions in the Grand Hall grew more intense, with accusations and threats exchanged among the representatives. Rimuru observed that the factions were not only negotiating power but also engaging in a high-stakes game of diplomacy and deceit. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted outside the Grand Hall. The doors burst open, and a group of rogue angels stormed in, their wings shimmering with an otherworldly light. The atmosphere turned chaotic as the meeting devolved into a confrontation. Rias, Akeno, and Rimuru quickly regrouped, ready to intervene. "We need to defuse the situation and prevent any further escalation," Rias instructed. Rimuru stepped forward, his aura radiating calm authority. "Everyone, please. We don't need to resort to violence. Let's address our concerns peacefully." The room fell silent as Rimuru's presence commanded attention. The representatives exchanged wary glances, their hostility tempered by Rimuru's intervention. Rias seized the opportunity to address the crowd. "This meeting was intended to discuss our shared concerns and find common ground. Let's not let it deteriorate into conflict. We have a responsibility to protect the balance and ensure the safety of our realms." The rogue angels, led by a formidable figure with a stern expression, met Rias's gaze with a mix of defiance and reluctant agreement. "You speak of balance, but your actions often seem driven by self-interest." Rias responded with a measured tone. "We all have our agendas, but it's crucial to work together for the greater good. We must avoid actions that could lead to widespread chaos." The tension in the room eased slightly, though the representatives remained on edge. The rogue angels reluctantly agreed to a temporary ceasefire, allowing the meeting to continue under heightened scrutiny. As the meeting concluded, Rimuru, Rias, and her team regrouped outside the mansion. The night air was cool and filled with the sounds of the forest. The encounter had revealed the complexities and rivalries among the factions, highlighting the delicate balance they needed to maintain. "That was intense," Issei remarked, his usual bravado subdued by the evening's events. "I didn't expect things to get so heated." Rias nodded, her expression thoughtful. "We've gained valuable insights into the faction's dynamics. We need to stay vigilant and be prepared for any future developments." Rimuru reflected on the evening's events, his mind processing the intricate web of alliances and rivalries. "It's clear that we're dealing with a highly volatile situation. Our role is to navigate these complexities and ensure that we act in the best interests of all." As the team made their way back to the academy, the weight of their mission settled on their shoulders. The night had unveiled the shadows of the past and the intricate power plays at work. With each step, Rimuru and Rias grew more aware of the challenges they faced and the strength of their bond. Their journey was far from over, but with each revelation and confrontation, they forged a path forward, united in their commitment to protecting the balance and understanding the forces at play. Chapter 6. Hidden Truths. The days following the tense meeting were filled with a mix of routine and introspection. Rimuru and Rias's team had returned to Kuoh Academy with a deeper understanding of the factions vying for control of the ancient relics. However, the sense of unease lingered, as if the events of the previous night were merely a prelude to something greater. One afternoon, as Rimuru was reviewing the intelligence gathered during the mission, Rias approached with a thoughtful expression. "Rimuru, I've been considering our recent encounters and the information we've gathered. There's something I need to discuss with you." Rimuru looked up from his notes, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "Of course, Rias. What's on your mind?" Rias sat down across from him, her gaze steady. "During the meeting, I noticed several references to a hidden faction. A group that seems to operate behind the scenes and influences the decisions of the more prominent factions. I suspect that this group might be the true power behind the recent unrest." Rimuru's eyes narrowed as he processed her words. "A hidden faction? That's intriguing. Do we have any leads on their identity or motives?" Rias shook her head. "Not much. The references were vague and cryptic, but it's clear that this group has significant influence. I believe they may be manipulating events to their advantage, orchestrating conflicts to weaken their rivals and consolidate power." Rimuru nodded thoughtfully. "If they're as influential as you suspect, it's crucial that we uncover their identity and understand their motives. We need to approach this carefully and gather more information." Their conversation was interrupted by Akano, who entered with a serious expression. "We've received a tip about a potential lead on the hidden faction. A contact in the supernatural community claims to have information about their operations." Rias stood, her expression resolute. "This could be the breakthrough we need. We should meet with the contact and see what they have to offer." The team made arrangements to meet the informant at a discreet location, a small, unassuming cafe on the outskirts of town. The cafe had a cozy, relaxed atmosphere, but Rimuru could sense the underlying tension as they awaited the informant's arrival. After a short wait, a middle-aged man with a weary but sharp demeanor approached their table. He introduced himself as Kale, a former member of the hidden faction who had chosen to defect. "I'm glad you agreed to meet," Kale began, taking a seat. "I've been following your activities and I believe you have the potential to challenge the faction's schemes. I can provide you with some crucial information." Rias leaned forward, her gaze intense. "What can you tell us about this hidden faction?" Kale looked around cautiously before speaking. "The faction is known as the Veil. They operate in secrecy, manipulating events from behind the scenes. Their primary goal is to amass power and influence by destabilizing other factions and creating chaos." Rimuru listened carefully, his mind analyzing Kale's words. "How do they operate? What methods do they use to manipulate events?" Kale's expression grew grim. "The Veil uses a combination of espionage, blackmail, and strategic alliances. They have agents embedded in various factions, and they exploit weaknesses and rivalries to further their agenda. Their influence extends beyond the supernatural community, affecting political and economic spheres as well." Rias's eyes widened with concern. "If they have such far-reaching influence, it will be challenging to counter their efforts. Do you have any specific information about their plans or key members?" Kale nodded. "I have access to some of their internal communications and records. I can provide you with details about their key operatives and upcoming plans. However, be cautious. Once they realize you're investigating them, they will likely take measures to protect their interests." Rimuru exchanged a glance with Rias. "We appreciate your help, Kuoh. This information will be invaluable in understanding and countering the veil's influence." Kuoh handed over a small, encrypted device containing the information. "Be careful. The veil is more dangerous than you can imagine. Their reach is extensive, and they won't hesitate to eliminate threats." As Kuoh left the cafe, the team reviewed the information on the device. It contained detailed records of the veil's operations, including names of key members, their strategies, and recent activities. The data painted a picture of a shadowy organization with a far-reaching impact on the supernatural world. Rias looked over the documents, her expression a mix of determination and concern. "We need to analyze this information and identify any immediate threats. Our priority is to understand the veil's plans and disrupt their operations." Rimuru nodded in agreement. "We should also consider reaching out to allies within the supernatural community. The veil's influence is extensive, and it's essential to build a coalition to counter their schemes." As the team worked late into the night, analyzing the data and formulating their next steps, Rimuru and Rias found themselves reflecting on the gravity of their mission. The hidden faction posed a significant threat, and their actions would have far-reaching consequences for the balance of power. Rias paused, looking at Rimuru with a thoughtful expression. "I've come to rely on your insights and support, Rimuru. Your presence has been invaluable in navigating these complex situations." Rimuru met her gaze, his expression sincere. "I feel the same way, Rias. Our collaboration has been crucial in understanding and addressing these challenges. I'm committed to working together and confronting whatever comes our way." Their shared commitment strengthened their resolve. With the new information from Kuoh, the team was better equipped to face the challenges ahead. The hidden faction, the Veil, was a formidable adversary, but with determination and unity, they were prepared to uncover the truth and protect the balance of power. Chapter 7. Shadows and Secrets. The next few days were filled with intense preparation as Rimuru and Rias's team delved deeper into the information provided by Kuoh. The data on the Veil was extensive, revealing a network of operatives and intricate plans designed to destabilize various factions and seize control of key supernatural assets. In the clubroom of the Occult Research Club, the team gathered around a large table covered in documents and maps. The atmosphere was charged with focus as they worked to piece together the Veil's strategy. Rias looked over a map marked with various locations and symbols. The Veil seems to be focusing their efforts on several critical points. We need to prioritize our actions based on their plans and the potential threats they pose. Akeno, who was studying a detailed list of Veil operatives, spoke up. "We have information on several key figures within the Veil. This includes their leaders and top agents. If we can disrupt their operations and gather more intelligence, it will weaken their influence." Kaneko, having been quiet until now, added, "We should also identify and secure any potential artifacts or resources they might be after. If they're trying to acquire powerful relics, we need to ensure they don't get their hands on them." Rimuru nodded in agreement, his mind working through the possibilities. "We should split our efforts. I can take on an infiltration mission to gather more direct intel on the Veil's activities. Rias, you and Akeno can focus on securing artifacts and monitoring key locations. Kaneko and Issei can handle reconnaissance and provide support." Rias's eyes were filled with determination. "Agreed. Let's proceed with this plan. We need to act quickly to stay ahead of the Veil's maneuvers." The team went into action, each member taking on their assigned tasks. Rimuru set out for his infiltration mission, using his abilities to blend into the shadows and move undetected. His target was a known hideout of the Veil, a seemingly abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. As Rimuru approached the warehouse, he carefully observed the surroundings. The area was heavily guarded, with supernatural wards and barriers set up to deter intruders. Rimuru activated his camouflage and slipped through the perimeter, making his way inside. Inside the warehouse, he found a network of rooms and corridors, each filled with mysterious equipment and occult symbols. The atmosphere was thick with dark energy, a testament to the Veil's presence. Rimuru used his enhanced senses to detect hidden traps and security measures, navigating the space with precision. In one of the deeper chambers, he discovered a collection of documents and artifacts related to the Veil's plans. The documents detailed various schemes, including attempts to manipulate political leaders and exploit weaknesses in rival factions. Rimuru carefully examined the documents, noting key details and strategies. The Veil's reach was even broader than initially suspected, with connections to powerful individuals and organizations outside the supernatural realm. He also found references to a major upcoming event, a summit where the Veil planned to solidify their power through strategic alliances. As Rimuru was about to leave, he heard voices approaching. He quickly hid, using his invisibility to remain undetected. Two figures entered the chamber, discussing the summit and their plans to acquire a powerful artifact that would grant them significant leverage. "It's crucial that we secure the artifact before the summit," one of the figures said. "Its power will tip the balance in our favor and allow us to neutralize any opposition." The other figure nodded. "We've already set up a team to retrieve it. Once we have it in our possession, we'll be unstoppable." Rimuru listened intently, his mind racing with the implications of their conversation. The artifact they spoke of could potentially shift the balance of power significantly. He needed to relay this information to Rias and her team immediately. He made his way out of the warehouse, carefully avoiding detection. Once outside, he activated his communication device to update Rias on his findings. The information was critical and needed to be addressed promptly. Back at the academy, Rias and Akeno were in the process of securing one of the key locations identified in the Veil's plans. They had discovered that the Veil intended to strike at a nearby temple that housed an important artifact. Akeno was examining the defenses around the temple, her expression focused. "We need to enhance the protection around this place. The Veil will likely try to breach it to obtain the artifact." Rias nodded, directing Akeno to reinforce the wards and barriers. "We'll also need to prepare for a potential confrontation. If the Veil's operatives are as determined as they seem, they won't back down easily." As they worked, Kaneko and Issei returned from their reconnaissance, reporting on the Veil's movements and the increased activity around the targeted locations. Their observations confirmed the urgency of their mission. With the information gathered, the team reconvened to formulate their next steps. Rimuru arrived, briefing Rias and the others on his findings. "The Veil is planning a major summit and intends to acquire a powerful artifact," Rimuru explained. "Their influence extends beyond the supernatural community, and they're orchestrating events to strengthen their position. We need to act quickly to prevent them from obtaining the artifact and disrupting the balance." Rias's expression was resolute. "We'll need to coordinate our efforts and ensure that the artifact remains secure. Rimuru, your intel will be crucial in preparing for the summit and countering the Veil's plans." The team spent the evening strategizing, making preparations to secure the artifact and counter the Veil's upcoming summit. Each member's role was critical in addressing the multifaceted threat posed by the hidden faction. As the night wore on, Rimuru and Rias found a moment to reflect on their situation. The challenges they faced were formidable, but their shared commitment to the mission strengthened their resolve. Rias looked at Rimuru with a mix of appreciation and concern. "I'm grateful for your efforts, Rimuru. Your presence has been a significant asset to our team, and your insights are invaluable." Rimuru met her gaze, his tone sincere. "I'm glad to be part of this team, Rias. We're facing a complex and dangerous situation, but I believe we can navigate it together." Their shared resolve and mutual respect underscored the depth of their partnership. As they prepared for the challenges ahead, they knew that their unity and determination would be key to overcoming the Veil's schemes and protecting the balance of power. Chapter 8. The Summit of Shadows. The day of the Veil's summit arrived, shrouded in an ominous atmosphere. The summit was to be held at an opulent, remote estate hidden deep within the forest, chosen for its seclusion and fortified defenses. Rias and her team had been preparing for this critical juncture, knowing that it could determine the course of the ongoing conflict. Early in the morning, Rimuru and the others made their way to a secure observation point near the estate. From their vantage, they could see the elaborate estate surrounded by dense foliage and guarded by an array of magical wards and security measures. Rias and Akeno set up a monitoring station, using enchanted devices to tap into the estate's magical energy and intercept communications. Kaneko and Issei positioned themselves for reconnaissance and immediate intervention, while Rimuru prepared for a more covert infiltration. "Remember, our primary objective is to gather intelligence and, if possible, disrupt their plans," Rias instructed the team. "We need to identify their key decisions and ensure that the artifact thereafter remains secure." Rimuru nodded. "I'll approach from the eastern side. The wards here are less fortified, and I should be able to slip through unnoticed. Keep an eye on the perimeter and be ready to assist if needed." As Rimuru made his way toward the estate, He employed his camouflage abilities to blend with the surroundings. The estate's grandeur was evident from the outside, with its high walls and elegant architecture contrasting sharply with the dark energy emanating from within. Once inside the estate's grounds, Rimuru moved stealthily, navigating through a labyrinth of gardens and pathways. He used his senses to detect and avoid magical traps and wards set to alert the Veil's operatives. Inside the main hall of the estate, the summit was in full swing. The room was adorned with dark tapestries and arcane symbols, creating an atmosphere of foreboding. Representatives from various factions were engaged in heated discussions, their voices a murmur of intrigue and suspicion. Rimuru blended into the shadows, his presence barely noticeable. He observed the key figures of the Veil, their leaders and influential operatives, as they strategized and negotiated. The discussions centered around the artifact, its acquisition, and the consolidation of power. At the center of the room stood a large pedestal, draped in an elaborate cloth. Rimuru could sense the powerful aura emanating from beneath it, confirming that it was indeed the artifact in question. As the summit progressed, Rimuru overheard a conversation between two high-ranking members of the Veil. "The artifact will be the key to our dominance," one of them said. "Once we have it, we can ensure the failure of any opposition and solidify our control." The other figure nodded in agreement. "We've arranged for its retrieval tonight. After that, we'll need to act quickly to integrate it into our plans." Rimuru's mind raced as he processed the information. The artifact was not only crucial to the Veil's plans but also central to their strategy for power consolidation. He knew that preventing its acquisition was critical. As the summit reached its climax, Rimuru made his way toward the pedestal, aiming to get closer to the artifact. However, he was intercepted by a group of Veil operatives who had detected his presence. Using his abilities, Rimuru swiftly dispatched them, ensuring his path to the artifact remained clear. Just as he reached the pedestal, a powerful figure emerged from the shadows, an enigmatic leader of the Veil known only as the Shade. Cloaked in darkness, the Shade's presence exuded an overwhelming aura of authority and menace. "I see we have an uninvited guest," the Shade said, his voice a chilling whisper. "You're quite bold to intrude on our plans." Rimuru met the Shade's gaze, his expression unwavering. "I'm here to ensure that the balance of power remains intact. Your plans for the artifact will only lead to chaos." The Shade's eyes narrowed. "You underestimate the power of the Veil. We are the architects of destiny, and the artifact will be our instrument of change." A fierce confrontation ensued. Rimuru's combat skills and abilities were put to the test as he faced the Shade and his elite operatives. The battle was intense, with magical energy and supernatural forces clashing in a dramatic display. Meanwhile, outside the estate, Rias and her team were monitoring the situation and preparing for a possible intervention. The magical barriers around the estate began to fluctuate as Rimuru's presence disrupted the Veil's security. "We need to get inside and support Rimuru," Rias instructed, her tone urgent. "The artifact must not fall into their hands." Akeno cast a powerful spell to breach the barriers, creating an opening for the team to enter. Kaneko and Issei followed, ready to provide additional support. Inside, the battle continued to rage. Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, and Issei joined the fray, each contributing their unique skills and abilities. Their combined efforts shifted the tide of the battle, allowing Rimuru to gain the upper hand. The Shade, sensing the change in momentum, attempted to secure the artifact. However, Rimuru, fueled by his determination, intercepted him. A climactic duel unfolded between Rimuru and the Shade, their powers clashing in a dramatic display of supernatural might. In a decisive moment, Rimuru managed to overpower the Shade, forcing him to retreat. The artifact was secured, and the immediate threat was neutralized. The Veil's operatives, seeing their plans thwarted, began to withdraw, their attempts to seize power momentarily disrupted. As the dust settled, Rias and her team regrouped with Rimuru. The artifact was safely in their possession, and the summit had been successfully thwarted. Rias approached Rimuru, her expression a mixture of relief and admiration. "You did an exceptional job, Rimuru. Your efforts were crucial in preventing the Veil from achieving their goals." Rimuru nodded, his tone sincere. "We all played a part in this. Our teamwork and determination made the difference." As they left the estate, the team reflected on the night's events. The Veil's plans had been interrupted, but the threat was far from over. The hidden faction remained a formidable adversary, and their influence would continue to pose challenges. Rias looked at Rimuru with gratitude and respect. We've accomplished a lot tonight, but there's still much work ahead. I'm grateful to have you by my side. Rimuru met her gaze, his expression warm. I'm honored to be part of this journey with you. Together, we'll face whatever challenges come our way. With their mission accomplished and the artifact secured, the team prepared for the next chapter in their ongoing struggle against the Veil. The battle for balance and power was far from over, but their unity and resolve would guide them through the darkness. Chapter 9. Echoes of betrayal. The days following the thwarted summit were filled with a sense of cautious relief. The immediate threat posed by the Veil had been managed, but the underlying tension remained. The team took this time to regroup, analyze their recent experiences, and plan their next moves. Back at the academy, Rias and her team gathered in the clubroom to discuss their next steps. The artifact they had secured was now safely stored under heavy protection, and their focus had shifted to understanding the Veil's broader strategy and preventing further incursions. Rias placed a stack of documents on the table. We've managed to delay the Veil's plans, but they're a persistent threat. We need to continue our investigation and find out more about their network and future schemes. Akeno nodded in agreement. We should also be prepared for possible retaliations. The Veil will likely seek revenge for the disruption of their summit. Kaneko, who had been quiet but attentive, added, we should consider reaching out to other factions. If the Veil is manipulating events on such a large scale, forming alliances could be crucial in countering their influence. Rimuru agreed, his expression thoughtful. Strengthening our alliances and gathering intelligence on the Veil's operations will be key. We need to be proactive and anticipate their moves. As they discussed their plans, Issei burst into the room, a look of excitement on his face. Hey, I've got news. I overheard something interesting while out on patrol. There's been talk of a potential traitor within the academy, someone who might be working with the Veil. The revelation stunned the group. Rias's expression darkened as she processed the implications. A traitor within the academy? This could be serious. We need to investigate this immediately and identify the source of the betrayal. Rimuru's eyes narrowed with concern. We should approach this with caution. If someone is leaking information to the Veil, they could be putting all of us at risk. The team quickly set to work, conducting a discreet investigation to identify any potential suspects. Their first step was to review recent security breaches and interactions within the academy. They also monitored communications and activities for any signs of suspicious behavior. As the investigation progressed, suspicions began to point toward a member of the academy's administrative staff, a figure known for their enigmatic demeanor and frequent interactions with various factions. Rias, Rimuru, and Akeno decided to confront the suspect privately. They arranged to meet with the staff member, a man named Mr. Arata, in his office under the pretext of a routine security review. Mr. Arata greeted them with a polite but guarded demeanor. Welcome. What can I assist you with today? Rias took the lead, her tone steady but firm. We're conducting a review of recent security incidents. We've noticed some irregularities and wanted to discuss them with you. Mr. Arata's eyes flickered with a hint of unease. Irregularities? I'm not aware of any issues. My records should be in order. Rimuru, using his perceptive abilities, detected a subtle shift in Mr. Arata's aura. We have reason to believe that there may be a connection between the security breaches and recent activities involving the Veil. We need to ensure that no critical information has been compromised. Mr. Arata's demeanor grew defensive. I assure you, I am not involved in any such activities. My duties are strictly professional. Akeno's gaze was intense as she scrutinized Mr. Arata's responses. If you're not involved, then you should have no issue with us verifying the records and communications related to your role. Reluctantly, Mr. Arata allowed them access to his records and communications. As they reviewed the information, it became clear that Mr. Arata had indeed been in contact with known Veil operatives. His interactions were covert, but they revealed a pattern of communication that suggested collusion. Rias's expression hardened as she confronted Mr. Arata. You've been working with the Veil. Why? Mr. Arata's shoulders slumped in resignation. I was coerced. The Veil has leverage over me. They threatened my family. I didn't have a choice. Rimuru's eyes softened with understanding. It's clear you were placed in a difficult position, but working with the Veil compromises everyone's safety. We need to ensure that no further information is leaked and that your actions don't endanger the academy. Mr. Arata nodded, visibly shaken. I'll cooperate fully. Please, just ensure my family is safe. Rias reassured him. We'll take measures to ensure their safety. Your cooperation will be crucial in neutralizing the threat posed by the veil. The team took immediate steps to address the breach and secure any sensitive information that may have been compromised. They also increased surveillance and security within the academy to prevent further infiltration. As they worked to address the fallout from the betrayal, Rias and Rimuru found a moment to reflect on the situation. The discovery of the traitor had underscored the importance of vigilance and trust within their ranks. Rias looked at Rimuru with a mix of concern and gratitude. This situation has shown us how far-reaching the veil's influence can be. We need to be even more vigilant and proactive in our efforts. Rimuru nodded, his tone reassuring. We'll face these challenges together. Our unity and resolve are our greatest strengths. Their shared commitment to their mission was strengthened by the recent revelations. As they continued their fight against the veil, they knew that they would need to remain vigilant, adaptable, and united to overcome the threats that lay ahead. The battle was far from over, but with each challenge, they grew stronger and more determined. The echoes of betrayal served as a stark reminder of the complexities of their struggle and the resilience required to protect the balance of power. Chapter 10. Unveiling the enemy. The aftermath of discovering the traitor within the academy had left the team on high alert. The veil's reach extended beyond what they had initially anticipated, and their methods of manipulation were more insidious than expected. With the information gathered from Mr. Arata and the heightened security measures in place, Rias and her team had a clear directive. Uncover more about the veil's plans and stop their next move. The team reconvened in the clubroom to strategize their next steps. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, Kaneko, and Issei were all present, each reflecting the seriousness of their mission. Rias opened the discussion. Our immediate goal is to gather intelligence on the veil's upcoming plans. We need to understand their next moves to stay ahead of them. We also need to consider their internal dynamics. Knowing who their key players are will help us anticipate their strategies. Akeno leaned forward, her eyes scanning the documents spread across the table. We need to focus on their network and identify any patterns or connections that could give us an edge. If we can trace their communications and alliances, we may be able to predict their next actions. Rimuru nodded in agreement. I can use my abilities to infiltrate and gather more direct intelligence. Given the veil's tendency for secrecy, I'll need to be cautious and thorough. Kaneko, who had been studying the surveillance data, added, we should also monitor any unusual activities or gatherings. The veil's operations might become more apparent if we pay close attention to their movements. Issei, who had been quiet but focused, spoke up. We should also consider reaching out to potential allies. If we can form alliances with other factions or individuals who oppose the veil, it could strengthen our position and provide us with additional support. Rias looked around at her team, her expression resolute. Agreed. We need to be proactive and use every resource at our disposal. Let's split our efforts. Rimuru and Kaneko will continue with direct intelligence gathering and infiltration, while Akeno and Issei focus on building alliances and monitoring activities. The team set out on their respective tasks. Rimuru and Kaneko began their infiltration mission, targeting a secret meeting place rumored to be a key hub for the veil's operations. The location was an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town, surrounded by an aura of darkness and secrecy. As Rimuru approached the mansion, he used his abilities to cloak himself and evade detection. The mansion was heavily guarded, with magical wards and sentries positioned around the perimeter. Rimuru and Kaneko maneuvered through the defenses, avoiding detection and making their way inside. The interior of the mansion was as foreboding as the exterior. Dimly lit corridors and shadowy rooms gave an eerie feeling, with arcane symbols and dark artifacts scattered throughout. Rimuru used his enhanced senses to detect any hidden traps or magical barriers as they proceeded. In one of the inner rooms, Rimuru and Kaneko overheard a conversation between two Veil operatives discussing a new plan. The artifact will be transported to a secure location soon, one of them said. We need to ensure its safety and prepare for its integration into our operations. The other operative responded, we've also received reports of increased surveillance around our activities. It's possible that our enemies are closing in on us. We must be cautious and fortify our defenses. Rimuru's eyes narrowed as he listened. The Veil's plans were becoming clearer, and it was evident that they were preparing for a significant move. He signaled to Kaneko, and they continued to gather information, documenting the details of the conversation and the locations mentioned. Meanwhile, Akeno and Issei were busy working on their end. They reached out to various factions and individuals, seeking potential allies who might be willing to join forces against the Veil. Their efforts included negotiating terms of cooperation and sharing intelligence to build a united front. During one of their meetings, Akeno and Issei were approached by a representative from a neutral faction who had expressed interest in supporting their cause. The representative, a tall woman named Seraphine, had a calm demeanor and a keen intellect. "I've heard about the Veil's activities and the threat they pose," Seraphine said. "My faction is willing to assist in exchange for information and a promise of mutual support. We have resources and connections that could be valuable in this struggle." Akeno's eyes lit up with hope. "Your support would be greatly appreciated. We're looking to form alliances and strengthen our position against the Veil. Your faction's involvement could make a significant difference." Issei nodded in agreement. "We'll keep you informed about our progress and ensure that our alliance benefits both sides. Together, we can face the challenges ahead." The alliance with Seraphine's faction marked a significant step forward in their efforts against the Veil. It provided them with additional resources and support, enhancing their ability to counter the hidden faction's schemes. As the team regrouped, Rimuru and Kaneko returned with valuable intelligence. The details they had gathered revealed the Veil's plans to transport the artifact to a secure location, where it would be further integrated into their operations. Rias reviewed the information, her expression serious. "We need to act quickly to intercept the artifact and disrupt their plans. We also need to coordinate with our new allies to ensure we have the support we need for this operation." Rimuru nodded. "I'll take point on the infiltration mission. We'll need to be precise and efficient to succeed." With their plans in place, the team prepared for their next move. The battle against the Veil was escalating, and their efforts to counter the hidden faction's schemes were becoming more critical. As they continued their struggle, Rias and Rimuru's bond grew stronger. Their shared commitment to their mission and their mutual respect provided them with the strength and resolve needed to face the challenges ahead. The Veil's influence was far-reaching, and their plans were complex. But with their united front, their growing network of allies, and their determination to protect the balance of power, Rias and her team were ready to confront the darkness and ensure that the forces of chaos did not prevail. Chapter 11. The artifact's journey. The operation to intercept the Veil's transport of the artifact was set into motion. The artifact, now a critical piece of their strategy, was being moved to a highly secure location, and it was up to Rias and her team to ensure it did not fall into the wrong hands. The night was crisp and clear as Rias, Rimuru, and the rest of the team prepared for their mission. The plan was intricate and required precise execution. They would need to infiltrate a heavily fortified convoy and secure the artifact before it reached its destination. Rias and her team gathered in the operations room, reviewing the details of the convoy's route. A map laid out on the table showed their path from the mansion to a remote facility deep within the forest, a location rumored to be protected by powerful wards and traps. Akeno, examining the map, pointed out key checkpoints. "The convoy will pass through 3 main areas where we can stage our intervention. We need to be ready at these points to intercept and secure the artifact." Kaneko, who had been quiet but focused, added, "We should also prepare for potential reinforcements. The Veil is likely to have additional security measures in place." Rimuru, his expression thoughtful, nodded. "I'll handle the infiltration of the convoy. My abilities will allow me to move undetected and disrupt their plans without alerting them to our presence." Rias placed a reassuring hand on Rimuru's shoulder. "Be careful. The Veil is aware of our efforts, and they'll be on high alert. We need to be swift and precise." With their roles assigned, the team set out. Rimuru, using his camouflage abilities, positioned himself near the convoy's route, ready to intercept. Meanwhile, Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, and Issei took their positions at the key checkpoints, prepared to execute their part of the plan. As the convoy approached the first checkpoint, Rimuru moved into action. He silently disabled the convoy's security systems and neutralized the guards with minimal disruption. His abilities allowed him to bypass the outer defenses and slip into the convoy undetected. Inside the convoy, Rimuru located the compartment where the artifact was being transported. The artifact was encased in a protective container, surrounded by additional security measures. Rimuru carefully disabled these measures, ensuring that the artifact remained secure while he worked. Meanwhile, at the first checkpoint, Rias and her team prepared for their intervention. Akaino used her magic to create a barrier, blocking the convoy's path and forcing it to a halt. Kaneko and Issei readied themselves for a confrontation, prepared to handle any operatives that might attempt to resist. As the convoy came to a stop, Rias and her team moved in. They engaged with the Veil's security forces, using their combined skills to neutralize the threat and secure the area. The confrontation was intense, with magical energy and supernatural abilities clashing in a dramatic display. Rimuru, having completed his tasks inside the convoy, signaled to Rias and the others, "I've secured the artifact. Let's get it to safety." The team swiftly moved to extract the artifact from the convoy and transport it to a secure location. The operation was executed with precision, and the artifact was successfully removed from the Veil's control. As they made their way back, the team regrouped and assessed their success. The artifact was now safely in their possession, and the immediate threat of its acquisition by the Veil had been neutralized. Rias, her expression a mixture of relief and determination, addressed the team. "We've successfully intercepted the convoy and secured the artifact. This is a significant victory, but we need to remain vigilant. The Veil will not give up easily." Rimuru nodded, his tone resolute. "We've made progress, but this is only one part of the larger struggle. We need to continue our efforts and stay ahead of their plans." The team returned to the academy, where the artifact was placed under heavy guard and additional protections. The operation had been a success, but the Veil's influence was far from extinguished. As the days passed, the team continued to strengthen their alliances and gather intelligence on the Veil's activities. Their efforts were met with mixed results. While they made progress, the Veil's countermeasures and schemes remained a constant challenge. One evening, Rias and Rimuru took a moment to reflect on their progress. They stood in the academy's garden, the tranquility of the setting contrasting with the intensity of their mission. Rias looked at Rimuru, her expression thoughtful. "We've achieved a lot, but there's still so much to do. The Veil's plans are intricate, and their influence runs deep." Rimuru met her gaze, his eyes filled with determination. "We've made significant strides, but the struggle isn't over. We need to keep pushing forward and adapt to the challenges we face." Rias's gaze softened, and she placed a hand on his. "I'm grateful for your support and dedication. It means a lot to me, and it strengthens our resolve." Rimuru smiled, his tone sincere. "We're in this together. We'll face whatever comes our way and ensure that we protect the balance of power." Their bond was a source of strength as they continued their battle against the Veil. The struggle was far from over, but their unity and commitment provided them with the resilience needed to confront the darkness. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Rias and her team knew that the fight against the Veil would require both courage and perseverance. With each challenge, they grew stronger and more determined to overcome the threats that lay ahead. Chapter 12. Shadows of Betrayal. The successful interception of the Veil's convoy had provided a momentary victory, but the victory came with an unsettling realization. The Veil's resources and reach were more extensive than anticipated, and their resilience was becoming increasingly apparent. Rias and her team knew that their next move had to be strategic and decisive. The Academy's atmosphere was a mix of cautious optimism and underlying tension. The team was now focused on further analyzing the artifact and understanding its potential impact. The artifact, though secured, remained a subject of intense scrutiny. Its power and origins were still not fully understood, and the potential threats it posed were significant. In the Academy's library, Rias, Rimuru, and Akaino were deep in study. The library's vast collection of ancient texts and arcane tomes provided valuable insights, but deciphering the artifact's true nature proved challenging. Akaino was poring over a series of old manuscripts, her eyes scanning the dense texts for any relevant information. The artifact's origins seem to be shrouded in myth and legend. There are references to similar artifacts in ancient texts, but none that match exactly. Rimuru, who had been examining the artifact under a magical detection spell, frowned in concentration. "It's definitely imbued with a powerful energy, but its specific properties are difficult to pinpoint. It's as if it's meant to integrate with other sources of power." Rias, who had been studying a map of known Veil operations, looked up with a concerned expression. "If the artifact is meant to integrate with other sources of power, it could enhance the Veil's capabilities significantly. We need to understand its function before they can fully exploit it." As they continued their research, Issei entered the room with a grim expression. I've received some troubling news. There's been a significant uptick in veil activity around the city. It looks like they're gearing up for something major. Rias's expression tightened. We need to act quickly. The veil's increased activity might be linked to their plans for the artifact. Let's coordinate our efforts and prepare for a potential confrontation. The team quickly mobilized. They set up surveillance around key locations identified as potential veil strongholds and increased their monitoring of magical disturbances. The veil's movements were becoming more erratic, suggesting that they were preparing for a significant operation. As night fell, Rimuru and Kaneko were on patrol, scouting for any signs of unusual activity. They encountered a group of veil operatives in a secluded area, engaging in a covert meeting. Rimuru used his camouflage abilities to get close enough to overhear their conversation. The time is near, one of the operatives said. We have the final components required for the artifact's activation. Once everything is in place, we can initiate the process. The other operative nodded. We must ensure that our plan remains concealed. The Academy will be unable to stop us once the artifact is fully integrated. Rimuru's eyes narrowed with concern. The Veil's plan was becoming clearer, and it was evident that they intended to use the artifact to gain a decisive advantage. He relayed the information to Rias and the team, and they prepared for an immediate response. Rias convened an emergency meeting with her team to strategize their next move. The information from Rimuru confirmed their worst fears. The Veil was preparing to activate the artifact, which could significantly alter the balance of power. We need to prevent the artifact from being activated, Rias said, her tone resolute. We have to locate the Veil's operation and neutralize their plans before it's too late. Akano, who had been reviewing the information, identified a likely location for the Veil's operation. Based on the pattern of their activities, the operation is most likely taking place at an old warehouse on the outskirts of town. It fits the profile of a secure, low-profile location. The team quickly set out for the warehouse. The operation would require a coordinated assault to disrupt the Veil's plans and secure the artifact. They approached the warehouse stealthily, using their combined skills to bypass security measures and avoid detection. Inside the warehouse, the Veil's operatives were busy preparing the artifact for activation. The artifact was placed on an altar, surrounded by arcane symbols and magical wards. The atmosphere was charged with dark energy, and the operatives were focused on their ritual. Rias, Rimuru, and the others infiltrated the warehouse, neutralizing the guards and operatives with precision. They made their way to the altar, where the artifact was being prepared for activation. As they approached, the lead Veil operative, known only as the Master of Shadows, turned to face them. His dark aura was imposing, and he exuded an air of confidence and menace. You're too late, the Master of Shadows said, his voice cold. The artifact's activation is imminent. Your efforts to stop us will be in vain. Rias stepped forward, her expression determined. We won't let you complete your plans. The artifact belongs to no one but those who seek to protect balance, not chaos. A fierce confrontation ensued. Rias and her team battled against the Veil's operatives, using their skills and abilities to combat the dark forces. Rimuru faced off against the Master of Shadows, their powers clashing in a dramatic display of magical prowess. Despite their efforts, the activation ritual progressed, and the artifact's energy began to surge. Rimuru, realizing the urgency, used his abilities to disrupt the ritual and neutralize the Master of Shadows. His interference caused a backlash of energy, destabilizing the ritual and preventing the artifact from reaching full activation. With the artifact's activation thwarted, the remaining Veil operatives were forced to retreat. The team secured the artifact and ensured that it was protected from further threats. The warehouse, once a focal point of dark energy, was now a scene of victory and relief. As they regrouped, Rias approached Rimuru, her expression a mix of gratitude and concern. We've managed to stop their plans, but this battle has shown us how crucial it is to remain vigilant. The Veil will continue to seek opportunities to further their agenda. Rimuru nodded, his tone resolute. We've achieved a significant victory, but the fight isn't over. We need to stay prepared and adapt to the challenges ahead. The team's unity and determination had proven effective in their struggle against the Veil. The battle had highlighted the importance of trust, resilience, and strategic planning. As they returned to the Academy, their bond was stronger than ever. The fight against the Veil was far from over, but with each victory, they grew more confident in their ability to confront the darkness and protect the balance of power. The shadows of betrayal had been faced, and the artifact's threat had been contained. But the Veil's influence remained a constant challenge, and the team was prepared to continue their fight against the forces that sought to disrupt the harmony they worked so hard to maintain. Chapter 13. The Fractured Alliance. The aftermath of the warehouse confrontation had left the team with a temporary sense of relief, but they were acutely aware that the Veil's threat was far from over. The battle had also underscored the precarious nature of their alliances and the fragile balance they had to maintain in their fight against the Veil. The Academy buzzed with activity as the team debriefed and assessed their next moves. The artifact was now under increased protection, and efforts were underway to further study its properties and origins. Meanwhile, tensions with their newly allied factions were beginning to surface. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei gathered in the clubroom to discuss the recent developments and the status of their alliances. The room was filled with a sense of urgency as they prepared to address the issues that had arisen. Rias opened the discussion. Our recent victory has strengthened our position, but it's become evident that our alliances are not as stable as we hoped. There are signs of discord and mistrust among our allies, and we need to address these issues to ensure our collective efforts remain effective. Akeno nodded, her expression serious. The factions we've allied with have their own interests and agendas. While they support our cause, their motivations may not always align perfectly with ours. Issei, who had been listening intently, spoke up. I've sensed some unease among the factions. They seem concerned about the potential risks and the balance of power. If we're not careful, we might face internal conflicts that could weaken our overall efforts. Rimuru, who had been contemplating the situation, added, it's crucial that we address these concerns directly and work to strengthen our relationships with our allies. Clear communication and mutual understanding will be key in maintaining a united front. To address the growing concerns, Rias decided to call a summit with representatives from the allied factions. The goal was to openly discuss their objectives, address any grievances, and reinforce their commitment to the shared cause. The summit was held in a neutral location, a grand hall that offered an environment conducive to open dialogue. Representatives from various factions, including Seraphine's group, gathered for the meeting. The atmosphere was charged with both anticipation and apprehension. As the representatives took their seats, Rias addressed the assembly. Thank you all for coming. We're here to discuss our ongoing efforts against the Veil and address any concerns that have arisen. Our goal is to ensure that our alliances remain strong and that we work together effectively to combat the threats we face. Seraphine, who had become a key ally, took the floor. Our faction is committed to the cause, but we've encountered challenges in coordinating our efforts. We need to clarify our roles and expectations to avoid misunderstandings and ensure that our combined resources are used effectively. A representative from another faction, a stern man named Garrett, spoke up. There have been concerns about the risks involved in our alliance. Some of our members worry that the alliance might expose us to greater danger without providing sufficient benefits. Rias listened carefully, her expression thoughtful. We understand your concerns. The fight against the Veil is perilous, but it's essential that we work together to overcome these challenges. We need to address specific issues and find ways to strengthen our cooperation. The discussion continued, with representatives voicing their concerns and proposing solutions. Rias, Rimuru, and their team worked diligently to address each issue, clarifying their strategies, roles, and mutual benefits. They emphasized the importance of unity and the collective strength that came from their alliance. As the summit progressed, the atmosphere gradually shifted from one of tension to collaboration. The representatives began to see the value in their shared goals and the potential for a stronger, more coordinated effort against the Veil. By the end of the summit, an agreement was reached. The factions would work together more closely, sharing resources and information while respecting each other's autonomy. They also established regular communication channels to address any future concerns promptly. With the summit concluded, Rias and her team felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The challenges they faced were significant, but the strengthened alliances provided them with a solid foundation to continue their fight against the Veil. Back at the Academy, Rias and Rimuru took a moment to reflect on the summit's outcomes. They stood together on the Academy's balcony, looking out at the city they were striving to protect. Rias turned to Rimuru, her expression one of appreciation. The summit was challenging, but I believe we've made significant progress. Our alliances are stronger, and our strategy is more unified. Rimuru smiled, his tone reassuring. It's a step in the right direction. The road ahead will be tough, but with our combined efforts and renewed commitment, we can face whatever comes our way. Their shared commitment to their cause was evident in their resolve and determination. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, they knew that their success would depend on their ability to navigate the complexities of their alliances and maintain their focus on the greater goal. The Veil's influence remained a formidable challenge, but with their strengthened alliances and renewed determination, Rias and her team were ready to confront the darkness and protect the balance of power. Chapter 14. Secrets unveiled. With their alliances reinvigorated, Rias and her team focused on their next objective, delving deeper into the Veil's operations to uncover more about their plans. The artifact, now under heavy protection, was a focal point in their strategy, but the Veil's motivations and ultimate goals remained elusive. The Academy's library had become a command center for their research efforts. Rias, Rimuru, Kuoh, and Issei were gathered around a table covered with ancient texts, maps, and magical artifacts. Their goal was to decode the Veil's strategy and find a way to neutralize their plans before they could fully execute them. Rias flipped through a particularly old manuscript. "We've gathered a lot of information, but there's still a significant gap in our understanding of the Veil's objectives. We need to find a way to get closer to their inner circle or gain access to their strategic plans." Kuoh, who had been studying magical sigils, nodded. "There are rumors of a hidden Veil stronghold where they conduct their most secretive operations. If we could locate this stronghold, we might be able to gather crucial intelligence." Rimuru, who had been reviewing a series of magical disturbance reports, added, "If the stronghold is concealed with powerful wards, we'll need to employ a combination of magical and physical infiltration techniques. We should also consider the possibility of internal leaks. Someone within the Veil might be willing to provide us with information." Issei, who had been silent but contemplative, spoke up. "I've been monitoring unusual activity among the Veil operatives. There's a pattern suggesting that they're preparing for a major event. If we can determine the timing and location of this event, we might be able to act before they fully mobilize." The team agreed on a multi-pronged approach. Rimuru would use his abilities to infiltrate and gather information from within the Veil's network, while Rias, Kuoh, and Issei would focus on identifying the stronghold and monitoring the Veil's activities. Rimuru's infiltration led him to a series of clandestine meetings and coded messages exchanged between Veil operatives. He discovered that the Veil was preparing for a significant ritual, which they believed would enhance their powers and solidify their control over key magical artifacts. Meanwhile, Rias and her team worked tirelessly to identify the hidden stronghold. They cross-referenced historical records, magical disturbances, and patterns in Veil activities. Their efforts led them to an abandoned fortress deep within a forest, surrounded by dense wards and illusions. The fortress was a formidable structure, with high walls and concealed magical barriers. The team approached with caution, using a combination of stealth and magical detection to bypass the defenses. They entered the fortress and began to search for any signs of the Veil's operations. Inside, they found a network of hidden chambers and arcane laboratories. The air was thick with the scent of dark magic, and the walls were lined with ancient symbols and artifacts. Rias and Kuoh carefully examined the artifacts, seeking any clues about the Veil's plans. In one of the deeper chambers, they discovered a set of documents detailing the Veil's ritual. The documents revealed that the ritual was designed to channel immense magical energy into the artifact, making it a powerful weapon capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality. "This is worse than we thought," Rias said, her expression grave. "If they complete this ritual, the artifact could become a tool of unprecedented power. We need to stop them before it's too late." As the team continued their investigation, Rimuru's efforts to infiltrate the Veil's network led him to a critical piece of information. He discovered the location of the ritual site, a hidden cavern beneath the fortress where the final preparations were being made. Rimuru relayed the information to Rias and the team, who quickly formulated a plan to intercept the Veil's ritual. They would need to act swiftly and decisively to prevent the completion of the ritual and neutralize the threat. The team prepared for the operation, arming themselves with magical artifacts and strategic plans. They approached the cavern with caution, using their combined skills to bypass the final layers of magical defenses. As they entered the cavern, they encountered the Veil's operatives, who were in the midst of preparing for the ritual. The atmosphere was charged with dark energy, and the ritual's progress was already well underway. A fierce battle erupted as Rias, Rimuru, Kuoh, and Issei confronted the Veil's forces. The cavern was filled with flashes of magical energy and the sounds of combat as the team fought to disrupt the ritual and neutralize the operatives. Rimuru, using his abilities to their fullest extent, engaged with the lead Veil operative who was overseeing the ritual. The confrontation was intense, with their powers clashing in a dramatic display. Rimuru's strategic use of his abilities allowed him to gain the upper hand and disrupt the ritual's energy flow. With the ritual's progress halted, Rias and the others focused on securing the artifact and neutralizing any remaining threats. The Veil's operatives were forced to retreat, and the cavern was left in a state of chaotic aftermath. As the team regrouped, they assessed the damage and ensured that the artifact was secured. The operation had been a success, but the fight against the Veil was far from over. Rias turned to Rimuru, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "We've managed to thwart their ritual and secure the artifact, but we need to remain vigilant. The Veil will likely regroup and continue their efforts." Rimuru nodded, his tone resolute. "We've made significant progress, but the struggle is ongoing. We need to stay prepared and continue working together to protect the balance of power." The team's unity and resolve had proven effective in their efforts against the Veil. The discovery of the Veil's plans and the successful disruption of their ritual marked a crucial victory in their battle. As they returned to the academy, they knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but with their strengthened alliances, renewed determination, and commitment to their cause, Rias and her team were ready to confront the darkness and ensure that the forces of chaos did not prevail. Chapter 15. Bonds of trust with the Veil's ritual thwarted and their plans disrupted, Rias and her team returned to the academy, where the mood was a mixture of triumph and lingering tension. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the broader conflict was far from over. The team was acutely aware that their victories were temporary reprieves in a larger and more complex struggle. The academy's common room was bustling with activity as the team gathered to discuss their next steps. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei convened around a table, the remnants of their previous research spread out before them. Their goal was to reassess their strategy and prepare for the challenges that lay ahead. Rias addressed the group. "Our recent success in disrupting the Veil's ritual was significant, but it's clear that their plans are still in motion. We need to stay ahead of them and anticipate their next moves." Akeno nodded in agreement. "We've gained valuable insights into their operations, but there's still much we don't know. The Veil's network is extensive, and their motivations remain shrouded in mystery." Issei, who had been quietly reflecting, spoke up. "I've been thinking about our allies and how we can strengthen our collaboration. The recent summit helped, but we need to build deeper trust and ensure that our combined efforts are more effective." Rimuru, who had been observing the conversation, added, "Trust and communication are crucial. We need to ensure that our allies are fully invested in our cause and that we're aligned in our objectives. We should also consider the possibility of internal threats. There may be individuals within our own ranks who are not entirely committed." Rias looked thoughtful. "Building trust and ensuring commitment are important, but we also need to focus on gathering more intelligence about the Veil's operations. We should continue our efforts to uncover any hidden agendas or plans they might have." The team agreed to pursue a multifaceted approach. They would continue their intelligence-gathering efforts, strengthen their alliances, and remain vigilant for any signs of internal dissent. They also decided to hold regular strategy meetings with their allies to maintain open lines of communication and ensure that everyone was on the same page. As part of their efforts to build trust and strengthen their alliances, Rias and Rimuru decided to meet with the leaders of the allied factions individually. The goal was to address any lingering concerns and reinforce their commitment to the shared cause. Rias met with Seraphine, who had become a key ally in their struggle against the Veil. They convened in a serene garden, where the atmosphere was calm and conducive to open dialogue. "Seraphine," Rias began, "I wanted to personally thank you for your support and discuss how we can further strengthen our collaboration. The recent summit was a step in the right direction, but we need to ensure that our alliance remains solid." Seraphine smiled warmly. "I appreciate your sincerity, Rias. Our faction is committed to the cause, and we value our partnership with you. It's essential that we continue to work closely together and address any challenges that arise." Rias and Seraphine discussed their strategies and exchanged information about the Veil's activities. Their conversation reinforced their mutual understanding and commitment to their shared goals. Meanwhile, Rimuru met with Garrett, a representative from another faction, to address any concerns and build a stronger working relationship. They met in a private study, where they could speak candidly. Garrett, Rimuru said, I wanted to address the concerns that were raised during the summit and discuss how we can enhance our collaboration. Our goal is to ensure that our combined efforts are as effective as possible. Garrett looked thoughtful. There are concerns within my faction about the risks and benefits of our alliance. I appreciate your willingness to address these issues. Clear communication and mutual support are key to overcoming the challenges we face. Rimuru and Garrett discussed ways to improve coordination and address any potential risks. Their conversation helped to clarify their objectives and reinforce their commitment to working together. As the days passed, the team continued their efforts to strengthen their alliances and gather intelligence about the Veil. Their strategies began to show results, with improved coordination and a clearer understanding of the Veil's plans. One evening, Rias and Rimuru took a moment to reflect on their progress. They stood together in the Academy's garden, the peaceful surroundings contrasting with the intensity of their mission. Rias turned to Rimuru, her expression thoughtful. Our efforts to build trust and strengthen our alliances are paying off. The team is more cohesive, and our understanding of the Veil's plans is growing. Rimuru smiled, his tone reassuring. We've made significant strides, but there's still much to be done. The Veil remains a formidable adversary, and we need to stay focused and prepared. Their bond was a source of strength as they continued their battle against the Veil. The challenges they faced were significant, but their unity and commitment provided them with the resilience needed to confront the darkness. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Rias and her team knew that their success would depend on their ability to navigate the complexities of their alliances, gather crucial intelligence, and maintain their focus on the greater goal. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but with their strengthened alliances and renewed determination, Rias and her team were ready to face whatever came their way and protect the balance of power. Chapter 16. Echoes of the past. With their alliances solidified and their strategy in place, Rias and her team turned their focus back to uncovering the full scope of the Veil's plans. They knew that the Veil's actions were not only driven by immediate objectives but also influenced by deeper, more personal motivations. To gain a better understanding of their enemies, the team decided to explore the history and origins of the Veil. Their research led them to delve into ancient texts and archives that detailed the Veil's origins and their connection to dark magic. The Academy's library, once a place of study, now became a hub of intense investigation. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei worked tirelessly to piece together the fragments of history that might reveal crucial information. One evening, as they sifted through old manuscripts, Akeno discovered a particularly intriguing document. It was a chronicle detailing the rise of the Veil and their early interactions with powerful magical entities. The document hinted at a long-standing vendetta and a hidden agenda that transcended their current operations. This document is older than any we've seen before, Akeno said, her eyes scanning the text. It describes how the Veil's founders made a pact with an ancient entity in exchange for forbidden knowledge. This entity is said to have immense power, and their influence might be behind the Veil's ambitions. Rias examined the document closely, her expression one of concern. If the Veil's actions are driven by an ancient pact, it could mean that their goals are tied to more than just immediate power. They might be seeking to fulfill a prophecy or complete a long-standing objective. Rimuru, who had been reviewing a map of magical disturbances, looked up. We should investigate any historical sites or artifacts related to this entity. They might hold clues about the Veil's ultimate plans and how to counter them. The team decided to follow the leads provided by the document, focusing on historical sites connected to the ancient entity. Their investigation took them to various locations, each holding its own secrets and challenges. One such location was an ancient temple buried deep within a forest. The temple, once a place of worship, had long since fallen into ruin. The team approached with caution, knowing that the Veil might have already discovered its significance. Inside the temple, they encountered remnants of ancient magic and arcane symbols. The atmosphere was heavy with a sense of foreboding, and the walls seemed to whisper the echoes of long-forgotten rituals. As they explored, they discovered a hidden chamber containing a sealed scroll. The scroll was marked with symbols that matched those described in the document Akeno had found. The team carefully opened the scroll and began to decipher its contents. The scroll revealed details about the ancient entity, known as the Eldritch Sovereign, and its connection to the Veil. It described how the Veil's founders had sought the Sovereign's power to reshape the world according to their own vision. The sovereign's influence was said to be a driving force behind the Veil's actions and their pursuit of the artifact. "This is significant," Rias said, her voice low. "If the Eldritch Sovereign is behind the Veil's ambitions, we need to understand its motives and how it can be countered." The scroll also contained a ritual designed to seal or neutralize the Sovereign's influence. The ritual required a combination of specific artifacts and magical energies, and its complexity suggested that it would be a formidable undertaking. As they continued their investigation, the team discovered additional artifacts and clues that provided insight into the ritual. They learned that the ritual needed to be performed at a specific location where the energies of the Sovereign were concentrated. The team prepared for the ritual by gathering the necessary artifacts and aligning their magical resources. They also reached out to their allies to inform them of the developments and enlist their support for the upcoming operation. The day of the ritual arrived, and the team set out for the ritual site, a remote cavern with powerful magical wards and a strong connection to the Eldritch Sovereign. The cavern's entrance was obscured by illusions and protective barriers, but the team used their combined abilities to gain access. Inside the cavern, they found the site where the ritual would be performed. The atmosphere was charged with dark energy, and the presence of the Sovereign could be felt as an oppressive force. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei worked together to set up the ritual, using the artifacts and magical energies to counteract the Sovereign's influence. The ritual required precise coordination and focus, as any mistake could result in catastrophic consequences. As they performed the ritual, the cavern was filled with a blinding light and a surge of magical energy. The dark presence of the Eldritch Sovereign was challenged, and the balance of power within the cavern shifted. The ritual was a success. The Sovereign's influence was significantly weakened, and the Veil's immediate threat was reduced. The team felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing that they had taken a crucial step in countering the Veil's plans. As they returned to the academy, Rias and her team reflected on their experiences. The echoes of the past had revealed important truths about their enemies and their motivations. The battle against the Veil was far from over, but their efforts had provided them with valuable insights and a renewed sense of purpose. Rias and Rimuru stood together in the academy's garden, their expressions a mix of relief and determination. "We've made significant progress," Rias said. "Understanding the Veil's origins and the influence of the Eldritch Sovereign has given us a clearer picture of the challenges we face." Rimuru nodded. "The path ahead will be challenging, but with the knowledge we've gained in our strengthened alliances, we're better prepared to confront the darkness and protect the balance." Their bond was a source of strength as they continued their fight against the Veil. The challenges they faced were significant, but their unity and determination provided them with the resilience needed to confront the forces of chaos and ensure that their mission remained on course. The echoes of the past had illuminated their path, and the team was ready to face the future with renewed resolve and unwavering commitment. Chapter 17. The gathering storm. With the ritual's success and the weakening of the Eldritch Sovereign's influence, the immediate threat posed by the Veil had been significantly diminished. However, Rias and her team knew that this victory was only a temporary respite in their ongoing battle against the forces of darkness. The Veil would not be easily deterred, and their resolve was likely to be tested in new and unforeseen ways. The academy, though momentarily at peace, remained a hub of activity as preparations for the next phase of their mission continued. Rias and her team had regrouped to reassess their strategies and plan their next steps. Their recent successes had provided them with valuable intelligence, but they needed to remain vigilant and proactive. The Academy's central meeting room was filled with maps, magical artifacts, and documents detailing the Veil's activities. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei gathered around the table, their expressions serious and focused. "We've made significant progress," Rias began, "but the Veil remains a formidable adversary. We need to anticipate their next moves and prepare for any new threats that might arise." Akeno nodded. "The weakening of the Eldritch Sovereign's influence has given us a temporary advantage, but it's crucial that we stay ahead of the Veil. Their response to our recent actions could be unpredictable." Issei, who had been reviewing recent intelligence reports, added, "There's been a noticeable increase in Veil activity in several regions. It seems they're regrouping and possibly planning a major operation. We need to identify their objectives and be ready to counter any new schemes." Rimuru, who had been analyzing magical disturbances, spoke up. "We should focus on identifying any significant magical disturbances or anomalies. These could indicate the Veil's movements or preparations for a new ritual. We also need to be prepared for the possibility of new allies or enemies emerging. The team agreed to pursue a multifaceted approach. They would continue monitoring magical disturbances, gather intelligence on the Veil's activities, and strengthen their alliances. They also decided to increase their field operations to stay ahead of any potential threats. Their first task was to investigate reports of unusual magical activity in a remote region known for its ancient ruins. The region had recently experienced a surge in magical disturbances, and the team suspected that the Veil might be involved. The team traveled to the remote region, navigating through dense forests and treacherous terrain. The ruins they sought were said to be the remnants of an ancient civilization known for its powerful magical artifacts and secrets. As they arrived at the ruins, they encountered a sense of foreboding. The area was marked by a series of arcane symbols and magical wards, indicating that the Veil had been active in the region. The team carefully approached the ruins, using their magical abilities to detect any hidden traps or wards. Inside, they discovered an ancient chamber filled with relics and inscriptions that hinted at a significant magical ritual. Rias and Kuoh examined the chamber's inscriptions, which described a ritual designed to harness and amplify magical energy. The ritual appeared to be an attempt to draw power from the surrounding environment, and its purpose was unclear. This ritual could be part of the Veil's plans to strengthen their magical capabilities, Rias said, her voice thoughtful. We need to gather more information and determine if this is related to their broader objectives. As they investigated further, they discovered that the chamber contained an artifact similar to the one they had previously secured. The artifact was partially activated, and its energy resonated with the disturbances they had been monitoring. This artifact is crucial, Rimuru said. If the Veil is using it to channel magical energy, it could be a key element in their plans. We need to secure it and ensure it doesn't fall into their hands. The team carefully secured the artifact and continued their investigation. They discovered evidence that the Veil was preparing to use the artifact in a new ritual aimed at amplifying their power. The ritual's components and instructions were detailed in a series of documents found within the chamber. As they prepared to leave the ruins, the team received an urgent message from one of their allies. The message indicated that the Veil was planning a major offensive and that their forces were mobilizing for a large-scale operation. The team returned to the academy, where they convened to discuss the new developments. The situation was critical, and they needed to act swiftly to counter the Veil's plans. We've uncovered crucial information about the Veil's intentions, Rias said, her tone resolute. They're preparing for a major operation that could have significant consequences. We need to mobilize our forces and coordinate with our allies to counter their plans. Kuoh, who had been reviewing the documents, added, the ritual they're preparing for could be aimed at creating a powerful magical surge. We need to disrupt their preparations and neutralize any threats before they can execute their plans. Rimuru nodded. We should also consider the possibility of new threats or allies emerging. The Veil's plans could involve unexpected elements, and we need to be prepared for any contingencies. The team worked together to develop a comprehensive plan to counter the Veil's offensive. They coordinated with their allies, mobilized their forces, and prepared for a decisive confrontation. As they finalized their preparations, Rias and Rimuru took a moment to reflect on their progress. The challenges they faced were significant, but their unity and determination provided them with the strength needed to confront the darkness. Rias turned to Rimuru, her expression one of determination. We've come a long way, but the road ahead is fraught with danger. We need to remain vigilant and focused as we face this new threat. Rimuru smiled, his tone reassuring. We've made significant strides, and our efforts have strengthened our position. With our combined abilities and unwavering resolve, we can face whatever comes our way. The gathering storm was a reminder of the challenges they faced, but it also served as a catalyst for their determination. The battle against the Veil was far from over, and the team was ready to confront the darkness with renewed strength and unity. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Rias and her team knew that their success would depend on their ability to anticipate the Veil's moves, leverage their alliances, and remain resolute in their fight for balance and justice. Chapter 18. Shadows of Betrayal. As the Academy prepared for the Veil's anticipated offensive, tensions ran high. Rias and her team were focused on coordinating their defenses and ensuring that their allies were aligned with their strategy. The urgency of their mission was palpable, but amidst the flurry of activity, an undercurrent of unease began to make itself known. The team gathered in their strategy room, where Rias, Rimuru, Kuoh, and Issei reviewed their plans and assessed the readiness of their forces. The room was filled with maps, magical artifacts, and communication devices, all crucial to their preparations. Rias studied a map of the region, noting the locations of their allies and the Veil's known activities. We've solidified our defenses and prepared for the Veil's offensive, but we need to be cautious of any internal threats. There's been some unusual activity among our allies that warrants investigation. Akeno, who had been monitoring magical signals, looked up. I've detected some anomalies in our communication channels. It's possible that someone might be trying to interfere with our plans or gather information. Issei, who had been analyzing recent intelligence reports, added, I've also noticed discrepancies in the reports we've been receiving. It's as if someone is feeding us false information or manipulating the situation to their advantage. Rimuru, who had been quietly reflecting, spoke up. Given the stakes, it's critical that we investigate these anomalies and ensure that our plans are not being compromised. We need to identify any potential sources of betrayal and address them swiftly. The team agreed to conduct a thorough investigation into the unusual activity. They decided to interview their allies and review their communications to uncover any signs of betrayal or sabotage. The first step in their investigation was to meet with Seraphine, a key ally whose faction had been instrumental in their efforts against the Veil. They arranged a private meeting to discuss the recent concerns and assess the state of their alliance. Rias and Rimuru met with Seraphine in a secluded garden within the academy grounds. The atmosphere was serene, but there was an underlying tension as they began their conversation. Seraphine, Rias began, we've noticed some irregularities in our communications and reports. We want to ensure that our alliance is secure and that there are no issues that might affect our efforts. Seraphine's expression was one of surprise, but she maintained a composed demeanor. I understand your concerns, Rias. We value our alliance and are committed to our shared goals. If there are any issues, it's important that we address them openly. Rimuru, who had been observing the conversation, added, we're not accusing anyone, but the stakes are high. We need to be certain that there are no breaches or leaks within our ranks. Seraphine nodded. I assure you that my faction is fully committed to the cause. I'll review our communications and work to resolve any issues that might have arisen. The meeting concluded on a cautious but cooperative note. As Rias and Rimuru left, they felt a sense of guarded optimism but remained vigilant. Next, they decided to investigate the source of the anomalies in their magical communications. Akeno, using her expertise in magical analysis, traced the disturbances to a specific location within the academy. The team arrived at the location, an unremarkable storage room that seemed to be the source of the interference. Inside, they discovered a hidden device emitting a magical signal designed to disrupt their communications. This device is sophisticated, Akeno said, examining it closely. It's capable of intercepting and manipulating magical signals. Someone has been actively working to undermine our operations. Rimuru, who had been analyzing the device, nodded. We need to trace the device's origin and identify who was responsible for setting it up. This could lead us to the source of the betrayal. The team conducted a thorough investigation and followed the trail left by the device. Their search led them to a secluded part of the academy where they encountered a hidden chamber containing evidence of espionage and sabotage. In the chamber, they found documents and magical artifacts indicating that someone within their ranks had been working with the Veil. The evidence suggested that the betrayal was not just limited to one individual but might involve a broader conspiracy. As they reviewed the evidence, the team realized that the betrayal was more complex and far-reaching than they had initially suspected. They needed to act quickly to address the threat and ensure that their plans remained secure. Rias convened an emergency meeting with her closest allies and the leaders of the allied factions. The atmosphere was tense as they discussed the findings and the implications of the betrayal. We've uncovered evidence of a serious breach within our ranks, Rias said, her voice steady. It's clear that someone has been working with the Veil to sabotage our efforts. We need to identify the perpetrators and take decisive action to protect our mission. The leaders expressed their concerns and offered their support in addressing the threat. They agreed to conduct internal investigations within their factions and work together to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy. As the team prepared to confront the betrayal and safeguard their mission, Rias and Rimuru shared a moment of reflection. The shadows of betrayal had cast a dark pall over their efforts, but their resolve remained unshaken. Rias turned to Rimuru, her expression determined. We've faced many challenges, but this betrayal is a new test of our strength and unity. We need to address this threat and ensure that our mission remains on track. Rimuru nodded, his tone resolute. We've come too far to be derailed by internal threats. With our combined efforts and unwavering commitment, we can overcome this challenge and continue our fight against the Veil. The shadows of betrayal had revealed new layers of complexity in their struggle, but they also strengthened the resolve of Rias and her team. As they prepared to confront the threat within their ranks, they knew that their success would depend on their ability to navigate the treacherous waters of deception and maintain their focus on the greater goal. The gathering storm had taken on a new dimension, and Rias and her team were ready to face the challenges ahead with renewed vigilance and determination. Chapter 19. The Unseen Hand. As Rias and her team worked to address the recent betrayal, the gravity of their situation became increasingly apparent. Their preparations for the Veil's offensive had been disrupted, and internal divisions threatened to undermine their efforts. With the stakes higher than ever, the need for unity and vigilance was paramount. The team reconvened to strategize their next moves. The information they had uncovered pointed to a larger conspiracy involving multiple factions and individuals. Their immediate priority was to identify the full extent of the betrayal and prevent any further compromises. In their strategy room, the atmosphere was tense but focused. Maps, intelligence reports, and magical artifacts lay spread across the table, each representing a piece of the complex puzzle they needed to solve. We need to address the conspiracy at its core, Rias began, her tone resolute. We've identified some key individuals who might be involved, but we need to ensure that no one else is compromised. Akano, who had been analyzing the magical disturbances, looked up. The interference device we discovered was sophisticated. It's likely that whoever set it up has significant magical expertise and resources. Issei, who had been reviewing recent communications, added, we've also detected unusual patterns in our ally communications. It's possible that the Veil has infiltrated multiple layers of our network. Rimuru, who had been contemplating their next steps, spoke up. We need to use this information to our advantage. By identifying the sources of the betrayal and neutralizing them, we can regain control and strengthen our defenses against the Veil's upcoming offensive. The team decided to launch a dual-pronged approach. They would conduct a thorough internal investigation to root out the traitors and simultaneously strengthen their defenses against potential Veil attacks. Their first task was to confront the individuals identified in their investigation. Rias and Rimuru, accompanied by Akano and Issei, visited the factions suspected of being involved in the conspiracy. Their goal was to gather intelligence and determine the extent of the betrayal. They began with a meeting with Garrett, a representative from one of their allied factions. The meeting was held in a private conference room within the academy, where they could speak candidly without fear of eavesdropping. Garrett, Rias said, her voice steady, we've uncovered evidence of a conspiracy involving individuals within our ranks. We need to address this issue and ensure that our alliance remains secure. Garrett's expression shifted from surprise to concern. A conspiracy? This is troubling news. We value our alliance and would never support any actions that undermine our efforts. How can we assist in resolving this issue? Rimuru, who had been observing the conversation, added, we need your cooperation in reviewing your faction's internal activities and communications. If there are any breaches or suspicious activities, it's crucial that we address them promptly. Garrett nodded. I'll initiate an internal investigation within my faction and work to identify any potential issues. We need to maintain our focus and ensure that our efforts against the Veil are not compromised. With Garrett's cooperation secured, the team moved on to their next meeting with Seraphine. The meeting took place in a secluded garden, where they could discuss the matter privately and without interruption. Seraphine, Rias began, we've found evidence suggesting that someone within our alliance might be working with the Veil. We need to address this issue and ensure that our collaboration remains effective. Seraphine's demeanor was one of concern, but she remained composed. I assure you that my faction is committed to our shared goals. I will review our internal activities and address any potential issues. Rimuru, who had been analyzing recent magical disturbances, added, we need to ensure that no further breaches occur. The Veil's influence might extend beyond what we currently understand, and we must be vigilant. As the team worked with their allies to address the conspiracy, they also continued their preparations for the Veil's offensive. They reinforced their defenses, gathered intelligence on potential Veil operations, and coordinated with their allies to ensure a unified response. During this period, Rias and Rimuru found moments to reflect on their progress and the challenges they faced. They shared a quiet conversation in the Academy's garden, away from the bustle of their preparations. Rimuru, Rias said, her voice thoughtful, the recent events have tested our resolve in ways we hadn't anticipated. It's clear that we need to be even more cautious and strategic as we move forward. Rimuru nodded, his expression serious. We've faced many challenges, but this conspiracy is a new dimension to our struggle. It's a reminder of the importance of trust and vigilance. Their conversation was a reminder of the bond they shared and the strength they drew from each other. Despite the challenges and uncertainties, their unity provided them with the resilience needed to confront the darkness. As they prepared for the Veil's upcoming offensive, Rias and her team remained committed to their mission. The shadows of betrayal had revealed new layers of complexity, but their resolve to protect the balance of power remained unwavering. The gathering storm was approaching, and the team was ready to face the challenges ahead with renewed determination and vigilance. They knew that their success would depend on their ability to navigate the treacherous waters of deception and maintain their focus on the greater goal. Chapter 20. The Dark Ascendant. As Rias and her team continued their preparations, they faced an unsettling reality. Despite their best efforts to uncover and address the betrayal within their ranks, the Veil's activities remained a looming threat. The recent disruptions had only intensified their urgency, as it became clear that the Veil was preparing for a major offensive. The team reconvened to finalize their plans and ensure that their defenses were ready. The strategy room was abuzz with activity as they reviewed their contingencies and coordinated with their allies. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei gathered around the table, their expressions serious. We've gathered valuable intelligence and reinforced our defenses, Rias began. But we must also be prepared for any unforeseen threats. The Veil's plans are likely to be multifaceted and unpredictable. Akeno, who had been monitoring magical disturbances, looked up. There have been recent spikes in magical energy in various locations. It's possible that the Veil is preparing for a large-scale operation or ritual. We need to investigate these disturbances and determine their significance. Issei, who had been analyzing intelligence reports, added, the Veil's movements suggest that they're planning something significant. We need to be ready to respond to any attacks or disruptions they might initiate. Rimuru, who had been reviewing recent developments, spoke up. We should focus on the locations where the magical energy spikes are strongest. These might be the sites of the Veil's planned operations or key objectives. The team decided to investigate the areas with the most intense magical disturbances. They split into teams to cover multiple locations and gather as much information as possible. Rias and Rimuru headed to a remote mountain range where the magical energy was particularly strong. The area was known for its ancient ruins and natural ley lines, making it a likely candidate for significant magical activity. As they arrived at the site, they encountered a sense of foreboding. The area was surrounded by powerful magical wards and protective barriers, indicating that the Veil had been active in the region. The team carefully approached the ruins, using their magical abilities to detect any hidden traps or wards. Inside, they discovered an ancient chamber filled with arcane symbols and magical artifacts. Rias examined the chamber's inscriptions, which described a powerful ritual designed to harness and amplify magical energy. The ritual appeared to be a culmination of the Veil's efforts, aimed at achieving a significant magical breakthrough. This ritual is designed to draw upon the ley lines and amplify magical energy on a massive scale, Rias said, her voice filled with concern. If completed, it could have devastating consequences and significantly enhance the Veil's power. Rimuru, who had been analyzing the artifacts, nodded. We need to prevent this ritual from being completed. We should disrupt the preparations and neutralize the magical energy sources. The team set to work, using their abilities to counteract the ritual's effects and neutralize the magical wards. As they worked, they encountered resistance from Veil operatives who were determined to complete the ritual. The battle was intense, with powerful magical attacks and strategic maneuvers on both sides. Rias and Rimuru fought valiantly, their combined efforts pushing back the Veil's forces and disrupting the ritual's progress. Despite their efforts, the ritual was partially activated, and the chamber was filled with a surge of magical energy. The Veil's plan had reached a critical juncture, and the team needed to act quickly to prevent further escalation. Rias, Rimuru, and their allies fought through the surge of magical energy, focusing on the core of the ritual. They worked together to dismantle the magical constructs and neutralize the artifacts, their combined efforts pushing back the Veil's influence. As the battle reached its climax, the ritual's energy began to dissipate, and the Veil's forces were forced to retreat. The team had successfully disrupted the Veil's operation and prevented a significant escalation in their plans. Exhausted but relieved, Rias and Rimuru regrouped with their allies. The battle had been a significant challenge, but their unity and determination had proven effective. "We've managed to prevent a major escalation," Rias said, her voice filled with relief. "But the Veil is still a formidable threat. We need to remain vigilant and continue our efforts to counter their plans." Rimuru nodded, his expression thoughtful. "The battle has shown us the scale of the Veil's ambitions. We need to be prepared for their next moves and ensure that we stay ahead of their strategies." As the team returned to the academy, they reflected on the events and the challenges they had faced. The dark ascendant of the Veil had been a formidable threat, but their combined efforts had made a significant impact. Rias and Rimuru shared a quiet moment of reflection in the academy's garden. The recent battle had been a reminder of the dangers they faced, but it also reinforced their resolve to protect the balance of power. "Rimuru," Rias said, her voice soft, "we've faced many challenges, but the Veil's plans are more dangerous than we anticipated. We need to stay focused and united as we continue our fight." Rimuru smiled, his tone reassuring. "We've made significant progress, and our efforts have strengthened our position. With our combined abilities and unwavering resolve, we can face whatever challenges lie ahead." The dark ascendant of the Veil had revealed the scale of their threat, but it also strengthened the resolve of Rias and her team. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, they knew that their success would depend on their ability to anticipate the Veil's moves and maintain their focus on the greater goal. The battle against the Veil was far from over, and the team was ready to confront the darkness with renewed determination and unity. Chapter 21. The Unmasking. After their successful disruption of the Veil's ritual, Rias and her team returned to the academy with a mix of relief and unease. They had managed to thwart a major part of the Veil's plan, but the battle had only revealed a fraction of the larger threat. The conspiracy within their ranks continued to cast a shadow over their efforts, and the need to unmask the true extent of the betrayal became increasingly urgent. The strategy room was once again filled with maps, magical artifacts, and intelligence reports. The team gathered to reassess their situation and plan their next steps. Despite their recent success, the betrayal had introduced a layer of uncertainty that needed to be addressed. "We've achieved a significant victory," Rias began, her tone firm. "But the conspiracy within our ranks remains unresolved. We need to identify the individuals involved and determine how deep the infiltration goes." Akano, who had been reviewing recent intelligence, looked up. "The magical anomalies we detected have not entirely ceased. It's possible that there are still hidden operatives working against us." Issei, who had been analyzing recent communications, added, "We need to conduct a thorough investigation and review all of our allies and contacts. The betrayal might involve multiple layers of deception." Rimuru, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "We should also consider the possibility of a mastermind behind the conspiracy. Identifying this individual could provide us with valuable insights into the Veil's plans and help us neutralize the threat." The team agreed to initiate a comprehensive investigation into the conspiracy. They would interview their allies, review internal communications, and use their magical abilities to detect any remaining anomalies. Their first task was to re-examine the evidence they had already gathered. They focused on the documents and artifacts found in the hidden chamber, looking for clues that might point to the mastermind behind the betrayal. Rias and Rimuru pored over the documents, analyzing the patterns and connections between the various pieces of evidence. The documents revealed a network of individuals and organizations involved in the conspiracy, but the mastermind remained elusive. As they worked, they received an urgent message from one of their allies. The message indicated that a key figure in the conspiracy had been identified and was attempting to flee the academy. The team quickly mobilized and tracked the fugitive to a secluded part of the academy grounds. They found the individual, a high-ranking member of one of their allied factions, preparing to escape. "Stop right there," Rias commanded as they confronted the fugitive. "We know about your involvement in the conspiracy. You're not going anywhere." The fugitive, a man named Victor, turned to face them with a look of defiance. "You're too late. The Veil's plans are already in motion, and there's nothing you can do to stop them." Rimuru stepped forward, his expression calm but resolute. "You've been working with the Veil to undermine our efforts. We need to know everything you've been involved in. Victor smirked. You think you can intimidate me? The Veil has powerful allies, and they'll ensure that their plans succeed. I've done my part, and there's nothing you can do to change that. Akeno, using her magical abilities, detected a hidden enchantment on Victor. The enchantment was designed to protect him from interrogation and erase any incriminating evidence. We need to neutralize the enchantment, Akeno said. This will allow us to extract the information we need. The team worked together to dismantle the enchantment and extract information from Victor. As they delved into his memories and activities, they uncovered valuable details about the Veil's plans and the extent of their influence. Victor revealed that the Veil's plans involved a coordinated series of attacks and rituals aimed at destabilizing key regions and increasing their control. The mastermind behind the conspiracy was identified as an enigmatic figure known only as the Dark Enchanter. The Dark Enchanter is a key strategist for the Veil, Victor confessed. They've been orchestrating the conspiracy and coordinating the efforts of various factions. Finding and neutralizing them is crucial to stopping the Veil's plans. With this new information, the team realized that they needed to act quickly to counter the Veil's plans and prevent further escalation. They began coordinating their efforts to track down the Dark Enchanter and disrupt the Veil's operations. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei worked together to devise a strategy to locate and confront the Dark Enchanter. They used the information gathered from Victor to identify potential locations and gather intelligence on the Enchanter's movements. As they prepared for their next move, Rias and Rimuru took a moment to reflect on their progress and the challenges they faced. The recent events had tested their resolve, but their determination to protect the balance of power remained unwavering. Rias turned to Rimuru, her voice filled with resolve. We've uncovered crucial information about the Veil's plans and the mastermind behind the conspiracy. We need to stay focused and united as we confront this new threat. Rimuru smiled, his tone reassuring. We've made significant progress, and our combined efforts have strengthened our position. With our resolve and unity, we can face the challenges ahead and protect the balance of power. The unmasking of the Dark Enchanter marked a new phase in their struggle against the Veil. As they prepared for the confrontation, Rias and her team knew that their success would depend on their ability to anticipate the Veil's moves and stay ahead of their strategies. The battle against the Veil was far from over, and the team was ready to confront the darkness with renewed determination and unity. Chapter 22. The Dark Enchanter's Gambit. With the revelation of the Dark Enchanter's involvement, Rias and her team faced a new and daunting challenge. The enigmatic strategist was said to be a master of deception and manipulation, making them a formidable opponent. The team knew that finding and confronting the Dark Enchanter would be a critical step in dismantling the Veil's plans. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei gathered in their strategy room to finalize their approach. The room was filled with maps, magical artifacts, and intelligence reports, each piece contributing to their plan to locate the Dark Enchanter. We've identified several potential locations based on Victor's information, Rias began, her tone determined. We need to focus on these areas and use our combined abilities to track down the Dark Enchanter. Akeno, who had been analyzing magical signatures, looked up. The Dark Enchanter is likely using powerful concealment magic. We'll need to enhance our magical detection and work together to pierce through any illusions or protections. Issei, reviewing the intelligence reports, added, we also need to consider that the Dark Enchanter might be preparing traps or diversions to mislead us. We should be prepared for anything. Rimuru nodded in agreement. We'll need to coordinate our efforts and maintain a high level of vigilance. Our goal is to locate the Dark Enchanter and disrupt their plans before they can execute their next move. The team decided to divide their efforts to cover multiple locations simultaneously. They each took on different tasks. Rias and Rimuru would focus on magical detection and reconnaissance, while Akeno and Issei would handle intelligence gathering and counterintelligence. Rias and Rimuru set out to investigate a secluded forest where the Dark Enchanter was believed to be hiding. The forest was dense and shrouded in magical wards, making it a challenging environment to navigate. As they entered the forest, they used their magical abilities to detect any hidden enchantments or traps. The area was eerily quiet, and the magical wards created an unsettling atmosphere. Stay alert, Rias instructed, her eyes scanning the surroundings. The Dark Enchanter is known for their cunning. We need to be prepared for any surprises. Rimuru nodded, his senses heightened. I'll use my abilities to detect any magical signatures that might reveal the enchanter's presence. As they moved deeper into the forest, they encountered a series of magical traps designed to mislead and confuse. Rias and Rimuru worked together to neutralize the traps and continue their search. After hours of searching, they came across a hidden clearing with an ancient altar at its center. The altar was adorned with intricate runes and magical symbols, indicating that it was a focal point for the Dark Enchanter's rituals. "This must be the site of their operations," Rias said, examining the altar. "We need to investigate and determine what they're planning." Rimuru, using his abilities, detected a powerful magical signature emanating from the altar. "There's a strong magical presence here. The Dark Enchanter might be using this altar to amplify their powers or conduct a ritual." The team began to examine the altar and the surrounding area, looking for clues about the Dark Enchanter's plans. They discovered documents and magical artifacts related to a powerful ritual designed to enhance the Veil's influence. "We've found evidence of a ritual that could significantly boost the Veil's power," Rias said, her voice filled with concern. "We need to stop this ritual from being completed." As they prepared to disrupt the ritual, they were ambushed by a group of Veil operatives. The operatives, skilled in combat and magic, engaged Rias and Rimuru in a fierce battle. Rias fought valiantly, her magical abilities and strategic skills allowing her to hold her ground. Rimuru used his powers to counter the operatives' attacks and protect their position. Despite their efforts, the operatives were relentless, and the battle was intense. Rias and Rimuru managed to push back the attackers, but the conflict took its toll on their resources and energy. With the operatives defeated, the team focused on disrupting the ritual. They worked together to dismantle the magical constructs and neutralize the energies involved. As they completed their task, the ritual's effects began to fade, and the magical wards surrounding the altar dissipated. The Dark Enchanter's influence was weakened, but the team knew that their work was far from over. "We've managed to disrupt the ritual and weaken the Dark Enchanter's plans," Rias said, her voice determined. "But we still need to locate and confront the enchanter directly." Rimuru nodded, his expression resolute. "We've made significant progress, but the Dark Enchanter is likely preparing for their next move. We need to stay vigilant and continue our search." The team regrouped and prepared for their next steps. They continued their investigation, using the information they had gathered to narrow down their search for the Dark Enchanter. As they worked, Rias and Rimuru shared a moment of reflection. The recent battle had been a reminder of the challenges they faced, but their resolve to protect the balance of power remained strong. Rias turned to Rimuru, her voice soft. "We've faced many trials, but the Dark Enchanter poses a significant threat. We need to remain focused and united as we continue our fight." Rimuru smiled, his tone reassuring. "With our combined abilities and unwavering resolve, we can face any challenge. Our unity is our strength, and together, we can overcome the darkness." The search for the Dark Enchanter continued, and the team remained determined to confront the threat and protect the balance of power. Their journey was far from over, but their resolve and unity would guide them through the challenges ahead. Chapter 23. The enigma of the Dark Enchanter. The disruption of the Dark Enchanter's ritual was a crucial victory, but the identity and location of the mastermind behind the Veil's conspiracy remained elusive. Rias and her team knew that their next steps were critical in dismantling the Veil's plans and ensuring their own safety. The search for the Dark Enchanter had become their top priority. Back at the academy, the team regrouped to reassess their strategy. The atmosphere was one of focused determination as they reviewed the information gathered and planned their next move. Rias began the meeting, her tone resolute. "We've made significant progress by disrupting the Dark Enchanter's ritual, but we still don't know their exact whereabouts or how to confront them directly. We need to leverage all the information we have to track them down." Akano, who had been working on magical detection, looked up. "The magical wards and concealments we've encountered suggest that the Dark Enchanter is using advanced magic to hide their presence. We need to enhance our detection methods and explore new avenues of investigation." Issei, reviewing the intelligence reports, added, "We've noticed patterns in the Veil's movements that might give us clues about the Enchanter's location. We should analyze these patterns and identify potential hotspots for their activities." Rimuru, who had been considering their options, spoke up. "We should also consider that the Dark Enchanter might be using decoys or misdirection to throw us off their trail. We need to be prepared for any false leads and focus on the most promising leads." The team decided to employ a multifaceted approach to locate the Dark Enchanter. They would enhance their magical detection, analyze the Veil's activities, and follow up on any potential leads. Rias and Rimuru were assigned to investigate a series of abandoned facilities that had been identified as potential sites of Veil operations. The facilities were located in remote areas, making them ideal for covert activities. As they arrived at the first facility, they noticed signs of recent activity. The area was littered with magical residues and protective wards, indicating that it had been used for significant operations. "We need to be cautious," Rias said, her eyes scanning the surroundings. "The Dark Enchanter might have left traps or clues behind." Rimuru nodded, his senses alert. "I'll use my abilities to detect any hidden enchantments or magical signatures." As they explored the facility, they discovered a series of hidden chambers and magical artifacts. The chambers contained documents and magical items related to the Veil's plans, but they did not reveal the Dark Enchanter's location. "We've found valuable information, but it's not enough to pinpoint the Enchanter's whereabouts," Rias said, her voice thoughtful. "We need to continue our search and follow up on any other leads." Meanwhile, Akaino and Issei focused on analyzing the Veil's activities. They reviewed recent reports and communications, looking for patterns or anomalies that might indicate the Dark Enchanter's location. Akaino, using her magical abilities, detected a series of unusual magical disturbances in a coastal region. The disturbances were consistent with high-level magical operations and suggested a possible link to the Dark Enchanter. "This area has significant magical activity," Akaino said, her tone concerned. "It might be a key location for the Dark Enchanter's operations. We should investigate further." Issei, analyzing the intelligence reports, agreed. "The patterns in the Veil's movements suggest that this region is a focal point for their activities. We should focus our efforts there." The team regrouped to discuss their findings and plan their next move. They decided to investigate the coastal region, where they hoped to find further clues about the Dark Enchanter's plans. As they traveled to the coastal region, they encountered a series of magical barriers and wards designed to protect the area from intruders. The barriers were sophisticated and indicated that the location was of high importance. Rias and Rimuru worked together to bypass the barriers and enter the protected area. They discovered a hidden base within a series of coastal caves, where they found evidence of the Dark Enchanter's presence. The base contained documents, magical artifacts, and elaborate ritual preparations. The documents detailed plans for a major offensive and included references to the Dark Enchanter's strategies. "This is a significant find," Rias said, examining the documents. "We've uncovered evidence of a major operation. We need to determine the Dark Enchanter's role and how to neutralize their influence." Rimuru, analyzing the magical artifacts, detected a powerful magical signature linked to the Dark Enchanter. The signature is coming from a central chamber. It might be where the Enchanter is conducting their operations. The team proceeded to the central chamber, where they encountered a powerful magical barrier. The barrier was designed to protect the chamber and conceal its contents. Akaino and Issei used their abilities to neutralize the barrier, allowing the team to enter the chamber. Inside, they discovered a series of magical constructs and an elaborate ritual setup. As they investigated the chamber, they encountered a figure shrouded in darkness, the Dark Enchanter. The Enchanter was surrounded by powerful magical wards and appeared to be conducting a ritual to amplify their power. "So, you've finally found me," the Dark Enchanter said, their voice cold and calculating. "You're too late. The ritual is almost complete, and the Veil's plans will soon come to fruition." Rias stepped forward, her expression resolute. "We've disrupted your plans and uncovered your operations. It's time to put an end to your schemes." The Dark Enchanter's eyes gleamed with malevolent intent. "You think you can stop me? The Veil's power is beyond your comprehension. I will not be defeated so easily." A fierce battle ensued as Rias, Rimuru, Akaino, and Issei confronted the Dark Enchanter. The Enchanter used powerful magic and illusions to fight back, but the team's combined efforts allowed them to hold their ground. The battle was intense and challenging, with powerful magical attacks and strategic maneuvers on both sides. Despite the Enchanter's formidable abilities, the team's unity and determination proved to be their greatest strength. As the battle reached its climax, Rias and Rimuru managed to disrupt the Dark Enchanter's ritual and weaken their magical defenses. With a final, coordinated effort, the team subdued the Enchanter and neutralized their influence. Exhausted but victorious, The team regrouped and assessed the aftermath of the battle. The Dark Enchanter's plans had been thwarted, but the threat of the Veil was far from over. Rias turned to her team, her voice filled with relief and determination. We've succeeded in confronting the Dark Enchanter and disrupting their plans. But we must remain vigilant and continue our fight against the Veil. Rimuru nodded, his expression resolute. Our victory here is significant, but the Veil's threat remains. We need to stay focused and united as we move forward. The confrontation with the Dark Enchanter marked a turning point in their struggle against the Veil. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Rias and her team knew that their success would depend on their ability to anticipate the Veil's moves and protect the balance of power. The battle was far from over, but their resolve and unity would guide them through the challenges ahead. Chapter 24. Shadows of Betrayal. The Dark Enchanter's defeat was a critical blow to the Veil's plans, but the victory brought with it a sobering realization. The depth of the Veil's infiltration and the scale of their operations were far greater than anticipated. With the Enchanter subdued, the team had a brief respite, but the looming threat of the Veil's continued machinations cast a shadow over their achievements. Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei returned to the academy, where they regrouped and began to analyze the aftermath of their confrontation. The Dark Enchanter's defeat had yielded valuable intelligence, but it had also revealed the intricate web of deception and betrayal that the Veil had spun. In the strategy room, the team gathered to assess their next steps. The room was filled with documents, magical artifacts, and maps, each representing a piece of the puzzle they needed to solve. We've managed to neutralize the Dark Enchanter, Rias began, her tone serious. But the Veil's influence and operations are still active. We need to understand the full extent of their infiltration and prepare for any further threats. Akeno, who had been studying the magical artifacts recovered from the Dark Enchanter's base, looked up. The artifacts indicate that the Veil's operations are not limited to the coastal region. There are signs of similar activities in other key locations. Issei, reviewing the documents, added, "We've also found references to other high-ranking members of the Veil. It's possible that there are additional figures behind the conspiracy who need to be identified and dealt with." Rimuru, analyzing the magical wards and protective enchantments, spoke up. "We need to enhance our detection methods and focus on uncovering any remaining hidden operatives. The Veil's network is likely to be extensive and well protected." The team decided to continue their investigation and follow up on the new leads they had discovered. Their goal was to identify and neutralize any remaining threats and disrupt the Veil's operations. Rias and Rimuru were assigned to investigate a series of abandoned research facilities that had been identified as potential sites of Veil activity. The facilities were located in remote and isolated areas, making them ideal for covert operations. As they arrived at the first facility, they encountered a series of magical barriers and wards. The barriers were designed to protect the facility and conceal its contents from intruders. "We need to be careful," Rias said, her eyes scanning the surroundings. The Veil might have set up traps or protective measures to guard against intrusions. Rimuru nodded, his senses alert. "I'll use my abilities to detect any hidden enchantments and neutralize any traps." The team worked together to bypass the magical barriers and enter the facility. Inside, they discovered evidence of ongoing research and magical experimentation related to the Veil's operations. "This facility appears to be focused on magical enhancements and rituals," Rias said, examining the documents and artifacts. "We need to gather as much information as possible and determine how it fits into the Veil's plans." As they investigated, they encountered resistance from Veil operatives who were determined to protect the facility and prevent them from uncovering the truth. The operatives engaged Rias and Rimuru in a fierce battle, using powerful magic and combat skills to defend their position. Rias fought valiantly, her strategic abilities and magical prowess allowing her to hold her ground. Rimuru used his powers to counter the operatives' attacks and protect their position. Despite the operatives' efforts, the team managed to subdue them and continue their investigation. They discovered documents that revealed plans for a major magical offensive, aimed at destabilizing key regions and expanding the Veil's influence. "We've uncovered valuable information about the Veil's plans," Rias said, her voice filled with determination. "But we need to follow up on these leads and ensure that we address all potential threats." Meanwhile, Akeno and Issei focused on analyzing the patterns and anomalies in the Veil's activities. They reviewed recent intelligence reports and magical disturbances, looking for clues about other high-ranking members and their operations. Akeno, using her magical abilities, detected a series of unusual magical signatures in a remote mountainous region. The signatures were consistent with high-level magical operations and suggested a possible link to the Veil's activities. "This region has significant magical activity," Akeno said, her tone concerned. "It might be a key location for the Veil's operations. We should investigate further." Issei, analyzing the intelligence reports, agreed. "The patterns in the Veil's movements suggest that this region is a focal point for their activities. We should focus our efforts there." The team regrouped and planned their next move. They decided to investigate the mountainous region, where they hoped to find further clues about the Veil's operations and any remaining high-ranking members. As they traveled to the region, they encountered a series of magical wards and barriers designed to protect the area from intruders. The wards were sophisticated and indicated that the location was of high importance. Rias and Rimuru worked together to bypass the barriers and enter the protected area. They discovered a hidden facility within the mountains, where they found evidence of ongoing magical research and preparation. The facility contained documents, magical artifacts, and detailed plans for a large-scale offensive. The documents revealed the involvement of other high-ranking members of the Veil, as well as their plans for future operations. "This is a significant find," Rias said, examining the documents. "We've uncovered evidence of a major offensive and the involvement of other key figures. We need to determine how to neutralize their influence." Rimuru, analyzing the magical artifacts, detected a powerful magical signature linked to the Veil's high-ranking members. The signature is coming from a central chamber. It might be where the remaining members are conducting their operations. The team proceeded to the central chamber, where they encountered a group of high-ranking Veil members. The members were engaged in a ritual designed to amplify their magical power and prepare for their next offensive. The confrontation with the Veil members was intense, with powerful magical attacks and strategic maneuvers on both sides. Despite the Veil members' formidable abilities, the team's unity and determination proved to be their greatest strength. As the battle reached its climax, Rias and Rimuru managed to disrupt the ritual and weaken the Veil members' magical defenses. With a final, coordinated effort, the team subdued the members and neutralized their influence. Exhausted but victorious, the team regrouped and assessed the aftermath of the battle. The Veil's plans had been significantly disrupted, but the threat of their continued operations remained. Rias turned to her team, her voice filled with relief and resolve. "We've made significant progress in confronting the Veil's high-ranking members and disrupting their plans. But we must continue our efforts and remain vigilant." Rimuru nodded, his expression resolute. "Our victories are important, but the Veil's threat is not over. We need to stay focused and united as we move forward." The struggle against the Veil continued, and the team remained determined to confront the remaining threats and protect the balance of power. Their journey was far from over, but their resolve and unity would guide them through the challenges ahead. Chapter 25. A dangerous alliance. The aftermath of their confrontation with the high-ranking members of the Veil left Rias and her team with both a sense of accomplishment and a pressing need for further action. Their success in disrupting the Veil's operations had revealed the extent of the threat, but it also highlighted the complexity of the situation. The team needed to strengthen their alliances and gather more information to fully address the looming danger. In the strategy room at the Academy, the team convened to discuss their next steps. The room was abuzz with activity as they reviewed new intelligence and formulated their plan of action. "We've made significant progress in uncovering the Veil's plans," Rias began, her voice steady. "However, we need to address the remaining threats and forge alliances to bolster our efforts." Akeno, examining the documents and magical artifacts they had recovered, nodded in agreement. "The intelligence we've gathered indicates that the Veil has connections with other powerful factions. We should consider forming alliances with these factions to strengthen our position." Issei, who had been studying the patterns of Veil activity, added, "We've identified several potential allies who might be willing to assist us. It's crucial that we approach them carefully and demonstrate our commitment to mutual goals." Rimuru, who had been analyzing the magical wards and protections, spoke up. "I agree. Forming alliances will be essential to countering the Veil's influence and securing our position. We should prioritize reaching out to potential allies and negotiating terms that benefit both parties." The team decided to approach several key factions that had been identified as potential allies. Their goal was to establish cooperative relationships and strengthen their collective efforts against the Veil. The first faction they approached was the Dragon's Den, a powerful group of dragonkin known for their formidable combat abilities and magical prowess. The Dragon's Den was led by an influential elder dragon, who was known for their wisdom and strategic insight. Rias, Rimuru, and Akano traveled to the Dragon's Den's secluded mountain stronghold to initiate negotiations. The journey was arduous, with treacherous terrain and magical barriers designed to protect the dragonkin's territory. Upon arrival, they were greeted by the Elder Dragon, a majestic and imposing figure with scales that shimmered like molten gold. The Elder Dragon observed the team with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "We are honored by your visit," the Elder Dragon said, their voice resonating with authority. "What brings you to our domain?" Rias stepped forward, her tone respectful. "We come seeking an alliance against the Veil. We have uncovered evidence of their plans and believe that our combined efforts could significantly impact their operations." The Elder Dragon's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "The Veil is a formidable adversary. We have encountered their influence before, but their true extent remains unclear. What makes you believe that an alliance would be beneficial?" Rimuru, who had been analyzing the situation, added, "We have evidence of the Veil's extensive network and their plans to destabilize key regions. Our goal is to disrupt their operations and protect the balance of power. An alliance with the Dragon's Den would provide us with additional strength and resources." The Elder Dragon considered their proposal, their expression contemplative. "Your intentions seem sincere, but forging an alliance requires mutual trust and commitment. What assurances can you provide that this alliance will be beneficial to both parties?" Rias and Rimuru presented their evidence and outlined their proposed terms for the alliance. They emphasized their commitment to mutual goals and the benefits of a united front against the Veil. After careful consideration, the Elder Dragon agreed to form an alliance with Rias and her team. The Dragon's Den would lend their support in combating the Veil and contribute their expertise in magical combat and strategic planning. With the Dragon's Den secured as an ally, the team continued their efforts to forge additional alliances. They reached out to other key factions, including powerful magical guilds and influential noble families. Each negotiation presented its own challenges, with factions varying in their motivations and priorities. Some were hesitant to ally with Rias and her team, requiring additional persuasion and assurances of mutual benefit. One such faction was the Arcane Guild, a group of powerful mages known for their mastery of arcane magic and intricate rituals. The guild was led by a charismatic and ambitious leader who was known for their strategic acumen. Rias, Rimuru, and Issei visited the guild's grand citadel, a towering structure filled with magical wards and arcane energies. The guild leader, a figure draped in elaborate robes, greeted them with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "We have heard of your efforts against the Veil," the guild leader said, their tone guarded. "What makes you think that an alliance with our guild will further your cause?" Rias and her team presented their case, highlighting the importance of the guild's expertise in magical rituals and arcane knowledge. They emphasized the benefits of a collaborative effort and the potential impact on the Veil's operations. The guild leader considered their proposal, their expression thoughtful. "The Veil is indeed a threat, and your offer is intriguing. However, we require assurances that this alliance will align with our guild's interests and goals." Rimuru, who had been analyzing the guild's motivations, addressed their concerns. "We are committed to working together to achieve our common goals. Our alliance will focus on mutual benefit and respect for each party's interests." After negotiations, the Arcane Guild agreed to join the alliance, offering their expertise in magical rituals and arcane combat. The alliance was solidified with a formal agreement that outlined the terms and expectations of the partnership. With the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild secured as allies, Rias and her team had strengthened their position against the Veil. The additional resources and expertise provided by their new allies would be crucial in countering the Veil's operations and protecting the balance of power. As the team prepared for their next steps, they reflected on the importance of their alliances and the challenges that lay ahead. The Veil's threat was far from over, and their struggle was far from finished. Rias turned to her team, her voice resolute. "We have made significant progress in forming alliances and strengthening our position. But we must remain vigilant and continue our efforts to confront the Veil and protect the balance of power." Rimuru nodded, his expression determined. "Our alliances will be key to our success. We must work together and stay focused as we move forward." With their newfound allies, Rias and her team continued their fight against the Veil, ready to face the challenges and threats that lay ahead. Their journey was far from over, but their resolve and unity would guide them through the trials to come. Chapter 26. The rising storm. The alliance with the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild had strengthened Rias and her team's position, but the battle against the Veil was far from over. The newly formed coalition had begun preparations for a coordinated assault on the Veil's remaining strongholds, aiming to disrupt their operations and thwart their plans. However, their efforts were complicated by the Veil's ongoing maneuvers and the emergence of new threats. As the team prepared for their next move, they were faced with the challenge of integrating their new allies into their strategy. Each faction brought unique strengths and resources to the table, but coordinating their efforts required careful planning and communication. In the strategy room, Rias, Rimuru, Akano, and Issei gathered with representatives from the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild. The room was filled with maps, magical artifacts, and strategic documents, each representing a piece of the puzzle they needed to solve. "We have made significant progress in our preparations," Rias began, addressing the assembled representatives. "Our goal is to coordinate our efforts and launch a decisive strike against the Veil's remaining strongholds. We need to ensure that our combined resources and expertise are used effectively." The Elder Dragon, representing the Dragon's Den, nodded. "We are prepared to lend our strength and support. However, we must ensure that our efforts are well coordinated and that we are prepared for any contingencies." The guild leader from the Arcane Guild added, "Our focus will be on providing magical support and expertise. We must also be vigilant for any traps or deceptions that the Veil may employ. Their tactics are likely to be sophisticated and well planned." The team discussed their strategy and outlined the key objectives for their upcoming operations. Their plan included a series of coordinated attacks on key Veil strongholds, aimed at disrupting their operations and neutralizing their influence. Rias and Rimuru were assigned to lead a reconnaissance mission to gather additional intelligence on the Veil's strongholds. Their goal was to identify key vulnerabilities and assess the strength of the Veil's defenses. The reconnaissance mission took them to a series of remote locations, each housing a significant Veil stronghold. The locations were heavily fortified, with magical wards and defensive measures designed to protect against intrusions. As they approached the first stronghold, they encountered a series of magical barriers and traps. Rimuru used his abilities to detect and neutralize the barriers, allowing them to proceed with their investigation. Inside the stronghold, they discovered evidence of ongoing operations and preparations for a major offensive. The documents and magical artifacts revealed the Veil's plans to launch a series of coordinated attacks on key regions. "This stronghold is a critical node in the Veil's network," Rias said, examining the documents. "Their plans are more extensive than we anticipated. We need to gather as much information as possible and prepare for their next move." Rimuru used his abilities to analyze the magical defenses and identify potential vulnerabilities. "The stronghold is well defended, but there are weaknesses we can exploit. We need to relay this information to our allies and adjust our strategy accordingly." As they continued their reconnaissance, they encountered resistance from Veil operatives who were determined to protect their strongholds. The operatives engaged Rias and Rimuru in a series of fierce battles, using powerful magic and combat skills to defend their positions. Despite the operatives' efforts, Rias and Rimuru managed to overcome them and gather valuable intelligence. Their findings were critical in shaping the team's strategy and preparing for the upcoming operations. Back at the academy, the team reviewed the intelligence gathered during the reconnaissance mission. They analyzed the Veil's plans and assessed their own readiness for the upcoming assault. "We've uncovered crucial information about the Veil's operations," Rias said, her voice focused. "Our next step is to coordinate with our allies and launch a series of attacks on their strongholds. We need to be prepared for any contingencies and ensure that our efforts are well coordinated." The representatives from the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild reviewed the intelligence and provided additional insights. They discussed the logistics of the coordinated attacks and the allocation of resources and personnel. As the preparations for the assault continued, the team received intelligence about a new threat. A powerful and enigmatic figure known as the Shadow Enforcer had emerged, rumored to be a key operative within the Veil. The Shadow Enforcer was known for their mastery of stealth and assassination, making them a formidable adversary. Their presence added a new layer of complexity to the team's efforts, as they needed to address this additional threat while continuing their fight against the Veil. Rias, Rimuru, Akano, and Issei prepared for the challenge ahead. They knew that their success would depend on their ability to adapt to new threats and coordinate their efforts effectively. As they readied themselves for the upcoming operations, Rias turned to her team, her voice filled with determination. "We've faced numerous challenges and threats, but we must remain resolute. Our fight against the Veil continues, and we must be prepared for anything that comes our way." Rimuru nodded, his expression resolute. "Our alliances and our strength will guide us through the challenges ahead. We need to stay focused and united as we move forward." With their preparations complete and their strategy in place, Rias and her team prepared to launch their assault on the Veil's strongholds. The battle ahead would test their resolve and their ability to confront new threats, but their determination and unity would be their greatest assets. The rising storm of conflict loomed on the horizon, and the team was ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. Chapter 27. The Shadow Enforcer. As Rias and her team braced for their assault on the Veil's strongholds, the emergence of the Shadow Enforcer cast a long shadow over their plans. The enigmatic figure, rumored to be a master of stealth and assassination, represented a significant threat that needed to be addressed. With the Veil's network becoming increasingly complicated, the team had to adapt their strategy to counter this new adversary. The Shadow Enforcer's reputation preceded them. Known for their ability to strike from the shadows and disappear without a trace, this figure was believed to be a key player in the Veil's operations, specializing in eliminating high-value targets and undermining enemy plans. Their presence added a layer of urgency to the team's preparations. In the strategy room at the Academy, Rias, Rimuru, Akeno, and Issei gathered with their allies from the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild. They reviewed their intelligence on the Shadow Enforcer and discussed their approach to neutralizing this new threat. "We've confirmed that the Shadow Enforcer is operating in the region where we plan to launch our assault," Rias began, her tone serious. "We need to address this threat while proceeding with our operations against the Veil." The Elder Dragon from the Dragon's Den nodded, their expression grave. "The Shadow Enforcer is a formidable opponent. We must be cautious and ensure that we don't fall victim to their tactics. Our efforts must be coordinated to prevent any surprises." The guild leader from the Arcane Guild added, "We have some intelligence on the Shadow Enforcer's methods and known locations. We should use this information to track their movements and prepare for their potential interference." Rimuru, analyzing the information, spoke up. "We need to incorporate countermeasures into our plan. This includes enhancing our detection abilities and establishing safeguards to protect against surprise attacks." The team decided to adjust their strategy to account for the Shadow Enforcer's presence. They outlined a series of countermeasures, including increased vigilance during their operations and the deployment of specialized teams to address potential threats. With their new plan in place, the team prepared for the upcoming assault on the Veil's strongholds. The mission was to strike at key locations, disrupt the Veil's operations, and neutralize any high-value targets. However, the threat of the Shadow Enforcer loomed large, and the team needed to stay on high alert. As they approached their first target, a heavily fortified Veil stronghold located in a remote forest, they encountered a series of magical wards and defensive measures. Rimuru used his abilities to bypass the defenses, allowing the team to infiltrate the stronghold. Inside, they found evidence of ongoing operations and preparations for a major offensive. The documents and artifacts revealed the Veil's plans to launch a coordinated attack on key regions, further complicating the team's mission. While Rias and Rimuru investigated the stronghold, Akeno and Issei worked to secure the area and ensure that they were prepared for any potential surprises. The tension was palpable as they conducted their operations, knowing that the Shadow Enforcer could strike at any moment. As they worked, they noticed signs of recent activity, suggesting that the Shadow Enforcer had been present in the stronghold. The team's heightened vigilance proved to be crucial as they encountered several traps and ambushes set by the Shadow Enforcer. The first ambush came unexpectedly. A series of shadowy figures emerged from the darkness, their movements swift and precise. The Shadow Enforcer's operatives attacked with deadly accuracy, using a combination of stealth and powerful magic to target the team. Rias and Rimuru fought back, their skills and abilities allowing them to counter the attacks. Rias used her strategic prowess to anticipate the operatives' moves, while Rimuru's abilities enabled him to neutralize their magical attacks. Despite their efforts, the ambush revealed the extent of the Shadow Enforcer's capabilities. The operatives were highly trained and well-equipped, making them a formidable challenge. The team had to adapt their tactics and work together to overcome the threat. In the midst of the battle, Rimuru noticed a pattern in the operatives' attacks. It became clear that the Shadow Enforcer was directing their efforts from a distance, using their knowledge of the stronghold to orchestrate the ambushes. "We're dealing with a highly organized and intelligent adversary," Rimuru said, his voice focused. "The Shadow Enforcer is using their knowledge of the stronghold to our disadvantage. We need to be prepared for additional attacks." As the battle raged on, the team managed to subdue the operatives and gain control of the stronghold. They continued their investigation, gathering valuable intelligence and neutralizing key threats. Despite their success, the encounter with the Shadow Enforcer had left them with a heightened sense of urgency. They knew that their adversary was capable of striking from the shadows and that they needed to remain vigilant. Back at the academy, the team regrouped and analyzed the information they had gathered. They reviewed their countermeasures and adjusted their strategy to address the Shadow Enforcer's tactics. "We've faced significant challenges, but our efforts have yielded valuable insights," Rias said, her voice resolute. "We need to stay focused and prepared for the ongoing threat of the Shadow Enforcer. Our mission is far from over." Rimuru nodded, his expression determined. "The Shadow Enforcer is a dangerous adversary, but we will adapt and overcome their tactics. Our success depends on our ability to work together and remain vigilant." With their new plan in place, the team prepared for their next operation. They knew that the Shadow Enforcer would continue to pose a threat, but their resolve and unity would guide them through the challenges ahead. As they set out for their next target, the team remained focused on their mission. The rising storm of conflict loomed on the horizon, and they were ready to face the challenges and threats that lay ahead. Chapter 28. The Veil's hidden agenda. With the looming threat of the Shadow Enforcer now a significant concern, Rias and her team redoubled their efforts. Their focus shifted from merely disrupting the Veil's strongholds to uncovering any hidden agendas and deeper plans that might be in play. The recent confrontations had revealed just how complex and far-reaching the Veil's operations were, and the team needed to be more strategic in their approach. The intelligence gathered from the previous strongholds indicated that the Veil was preparing for a large-scale operation. However, the specifics of this operation remained unclear. To gain a better understanding, Rias and her allies decided to target the Veil's research facilities, which were rumored to house critical information about their plans. In the heart of a sprawling, enchanted forest stood the Veil's most secretive research facility, cloaked by powerful illusions and protective enchantments. It was said that this facility held the key to the Veil's ultimate objective. The team prepared for a high-risk mission to infiltrate the facility and uncover its secrets. The facility was guarded by layers of magical wards, traps, and illusions designed to deter intruders. The team had to navigate through a series of complex magical barriers to gain access. Rimuru's abilities were crucial in detecting and neutralizing these defenses, allowing the team to progress. Inside the facility, they discovered an array of magical research and experimental data. The research focused on advanced magical constructs and dark rituals, hinting at the Veil's plans for a grand magical convergence that could potentially alter the balance of power. As Rias and Rimuru examined the documents, they found references to a powerful artifact known as the Eclipse Core. The artifact was described as a key element in the Veil's plan, capable of amplifying their magical influence and enabling them to perform large-scale rituals. "This artifact could be central to the Veil's grand scheme," Rias said, her voice filled with concern. "If they complete their plans with the Eclipse Core, the consequences could be catastrophic." Rimuru studied the data and nodded. "We need to find the Eclipse Core before the Veil can fully utilize it. Our next steps should involve tracking down the artifact and disrupting their plans." The team's investigation was interrupted by the appearance of the Shadow Enforcer, who had tracked them to the research facility. The Shadow Enforcer's arrival was marked by a sudden surge in magical energy, and their operatives began to converge on the facility. Rias and Rimuru quickly assessed the situation. "We need to secure the facility and ensure that the Shadow Enforcer does not interfere with our mission," Rias said, her tone urgent. The team prepared for another intense confrontation. The Shadow Enforcer's operatives attacked with precision, utilizing stealth and magic to target key points within the facility. The battle was fierce, with the operatives using the facility's labyrinthine layout to their advantage. Rias, Rimuru, and their allies fought back valiantly, utilizing their skills and abilities to counter the Shadow Enforcer's tactics. Rimuru's ability to manipulate magical constructs and illusions proved invaluable in navigating the facility's defenses and protecting their position. Amid the chaos, the Shadow Enforcer's presence was felt through a series of subtle but deadly attacks. The team had to remain vigilant and adapt their tactics to counter the Shadow Enforcer's elusive movements. As the battle reached its climax, Rimuru identified a pattern in the Shadow Enforcer's attacks, revealing a potential vulnerability. With this insight, the team launched a coordinated counterattack, successfully neutralizing the Shadow Enforcer's operatives and forcing their retreat. With the immediate threat dealt with, the team turned their attention back to the research facility. They continued their investigation and discovered detailed plans for the Eclipse Core's activation, including specific locations and rituals required for its full utilization. "We've gathered critical information about the Veil's plans and the Eclipse Core," Rias said, her voice filled with determination. "Our next priority is to locate and secure the artifact before it can be used against us." Rimuru, analyzing the data, added, "We need to act quickly. The Veil's plans are more advanced than we anticipated, and the activation of the Eclipse Core could have far-reaching consequences." The team prepared for their next mission, locating and securing the Eclipse Core. They knew that their success depended on their ability to act swiftly and decisively, and their focus remained on preventing the Veil from completing their grand scheme. As they set out to track down the artifact, Rias turned to her team, her voice resolute. "We have faced many challenges and threats, but our resolve remains strong. We must stay united and focused as we move forward. The fate of our world depends on our success." Rimuru nodded, his expression determined. "We will continue to adapt and overcome the challenges that lie ahead. Our mission is clear, and we will see it through to the end." With their plan in place, the team embarked on their next journey, ready to confront the Veil's ultimate threat and protect the balance of power. The stakes were higher than ever, but their resolve and unity would guide them through the trials to come. Chapter 29. The Eclipse Core. The hunt for the Eclipse Core had become a priority for Rias and her team. With the Veil's grand scheme hinging on the artifact, they needed to locate it quickly to prevent its activation. The recent battle at the research facility had provided crucial information, but the exact whereabouts of the Eclipse Core remained elusive. The data they had recovered indicated that the artifact was hidden in a location known only to a select few within the Veil. According to the intelligence, the artifact was secured in a hidden vault within an ancient and mystical fortress deep within a desolate mountain range. This fortress, shrouded in mystery and protected by powerful enchantments, was believed to be nearly impregnable. Rias, Rimuru, Akano, and Issei, along with their allies from the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild, prepared for their most challenging mission yet. Their goal was to infiltrate the fortress, locate the Eclipse Core, and neutralize any threats that stood in their way. The journey to the fortress was treacherous. The team navigated through rugged terrain, facing natural obstacles and magical barriers designed to deter intruders. The atmosphere was tense, with the team aware of the immense challenges that lay ahead. Upon reaching the fortress, they encountered a series of elaborate defenses. The entrance was protected by a combination of ancient wards and powerful enchantments that required careful analysis to bypass. Rimuru's abilities played a crucial role in detecting and neutralizing these defenses, allowing the team to gain entry. Inside the fortress, they found themselves in a vast and labyrinthine complex. The fortress's architecture was both majestic and intimidating, with towering stone pillars, intricate magical runes, and shifting corridors designed to confuse and trap intruders. Rias and Rimuru led the team through the fortress, using their knowledge and skills to navigate the maze-like structure. As they progressed, they encountered several layers of defenses, including powerful magical constructs and elite Veil operatives tasked with guarding the vault. The first major obstacle came in the form of a formidable guardian construct, a massive golem imbued with ancient magic. The construct was nearly impervious to conventional attacks and required a combination of strategic planning and magical expertise to defeat. Rias formulated a plan to exploit the construct's vulnerabilities, while Rimuru used his abilities to counter its magical defenses. The battle was intense, with the team working in unison to overcome the Guardian and continue their progress. With the Guardian defeated, the team advanced deeper into the fortress. They encountered additional challenges, including intricate puzzles and traps designed to protect the vault. The team's coordination and adaptability were crucial in overcoming these obstacles. Finally, they reached the vault where the Eclipse Core was believed to be stored. The vault was heavily guarded, with powerful enchantments and elite Veil operatives stationed at key points. The team needed to carefully plan their approach to avoid detection and ensure their success. Rias and Rimuru conducted a thorough reconnaissance of the vault's defenses. They identified key vulnerabilities and formulated a strategy to breach the vault while minimizing the risk of alerting the Veil's forces. As they prepared for the final assault, the Shadow Enforcer made another appearance. The enigmatic figure was determined to protect the Eclipse core and prevent the team from achieving their objective. The Shadow Enforcer's operatives launched a coordinated attack, using their stealth and magical abilities to create chaos and confusion. The team engaged in a fierce battle with the Shadow Enforcer's operatives, utilizing their skills and abilities to counter the attacks. Rimuru's strategic insight and magical prowess played a key role in neutralizing the operatives and securing the vault's perimeter. Inside the vault, Rias and Rimuru discovered the Eclipse core, a dark and powerful artifact radiating immense magical energy. The artifact was encased in a protective barrier, requiring careful handling to avoid triggering any protective measures. Rias approached the artifact with caution, her focus on the task at hand. "We've located the Eclipse core," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Now we need to neutralize it and ensure that it cannot be used against us." Rimuru used his abilities to analyze the barrier and determine the best approach for deactivating it. With careful precision, he neutralized the barrier and secured the Eclipse core. The artifact's dark energy was palpable, and the team knew that they needed to handle it with extreme care. As they prepared to leave the fortress, they were confronted by the Shadow Enforcer, who had tracked them to the vault. The Shadow Enforcer, now revealed in their full, imposing form, challenged the team to a final confrontation. The battle with the Shadow Enforcer was intense, with both sides utilizing their full range of abilities. Rias, Rimuru, and their allies fought with unwavering determination, knowing that the outcome of this battle could determine the fate of their mission. Despite the Shadow Enforcer's formidable skills, the team's coordination and resolve allowed them to gain the upper hand. They successfully defeated the Shadow Enforcer and secured the vault, ensuring that the Eclipse core was safely removed. With the artifact in their possession, the team made their way out of the fortress, prepared to return to their base and analyze their next steps. The successful acquisition of the Eclipse core was a significant victory, but they knew that their mission was far from over. Back at the academy, Rias and her team reflected on their achievements and the challenges they had faced. They had secured a critical artifact and neutralized a key threat, but the Veil's plans were still in motion. Rias turned to her team, her voice resolute. "We have achieved a significant victory, but our fight is not yet over. We must remain vigilant and prepared for the challenges ahead." Rimuru nodded, his expression determined. "Our success in securing the Eclipse core is a crucial step, but we must continue to adapt and address the remaining threats. Our mission is ongoing, and we will see it through to the end." With their resolve strengthened and their focus renewed, the team prepared for the next phase of their mission. The battle against the Veil continued, and they were ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. Chapter 30. The final confrontation. The capture of the Eclipse core was a decisive moment in Rias and her team's struggle against the Veil. The artifact's removal from its hidden vault had given them a significant advantage, but the Veil's plans were far from defeated. With the core now in their possession, the team prepared for the final confrontation that would determine the outcome of their battle. As they regrouped at the academy, the mood was a mix of determination and apprehension. The success of their previous missions had bolstered their confidence, but the looming confrontation with the Veil's remaining forces and the enigmatic leader presented a formidable challenge. Rias, Rimuru, Akano, and Issei gathered in the strategy room with their allies from the Dragon's Den and the Arcane Guild. The room was filled with maps, magical artifacts, and detailed reports on the Veil's remaining strongholds. The Eclipse core is a powerful artifact, and its removal has disrupted the Veil's plans, Rias began, addressing the assembled representatives. However, we still face the challenge of neutralizing their remaining forces and dealing with their leader. The Elder Dragon from the Dragon's Den nodded. Our scouts have reported increased activity in the Veil's remaining strongholds. It's likely that they are preparing for a final push or consolidating their forces. The guild leader from the Arcane Guild added, we need to focus on locating and confronting the Veil's leader. They are likely to be the mastermind behind their plans, and their defeat could effectively dismantle the Veil's operations. Rimuru reviewed the information and spoke up. We've identified several potential locations where the Veil's leader could be hiding. Our goal should be to launch a coordinated assault on these locations and force them out of hiding. The team devised a multi-pronged strategy to address the threat. They would simultaneously attack multiple strongholds to force the Veil's leader into the open, while also preparing for a final confrontation. With their plan in place, the team set out for their respective targets. The atmosphere was tense as they approached the Veil's strongholds, knowing that the final battle would be both intense and decisive. The first assault targeted a heavily fortified Veil stronghold located in the heart of a dark and forbidding mountain range. The stronghold was protected by powerful magical defenses and elite Veil operatives. The team needed to navigate through the defenses and neutralize the stronghold's key personnel. Rias and Rimuru led the charge, using their combined skills and abilities to breach the defenses and secure the stronghold. The battle was fierce, with the Veil's forces putting up a strong resistance. Rimuru's strategic insights and magical prowess played a crucial role in overcoming the defenses and gaining control of the stronghold. Meanwhile, Akeno and Issei led an assault on another stronghold, targeting key locations and neutralizing threats. Their coordination and teamwork allowed them to effectively disrupt the Veil's operations and gather valuable intelligence. As the assaults continued, the team received confirmation that the Veil's leader was indeed consolidating their forces in a final stronghold, a hidden citadel located in a remote and mystical region. The citadel was known for its powerful magical barriers and defenses, making it a formidable target. The team regrouped and prepared for the final assault on the citadel. They knew that the confrontation with the Veil's leader would be the ultimate test of their resolve and capabilities. The citadel's defenses would be formidable, and they needed to be prepared for any eventuality. As they approached the citadel, they encountered a series of powerful magical barriers and traps designed to protect the inner sanctum. Rimuru used his abilities to detect and neutralize these defenses, allowing the team to advance. Inside the citadel, they found themselves in a grand and ominous chamber, with arcane symbols and dark energy radiating from the center. At the heart of the chamber stood the Veil's leader, a figure cloaked in darkness and exuding a palpable aura of malevolence. The Veil's leader, a formidable sorcerer known as Xander, revealed themselves in full. Xander's presence was commanding, and their eyes glowed with an unsettling power. They were surrounded by a cadre of elite guards and magical constructs, each ready to defend against any intruders. "You've come far," Xander's voice echoed through the chamber, filled with dark amusement. "But your journey ends here. The Veil's plans are already in motion, and there is nothing you can do to stop them." Rias stepped forward, her expression resolute. "We've come to end your schemes and restore balance. Your plans have caused enough suffering, and we will not let them come to fruition." The final confrontation began, with Rias and her team facing Xander and their formidable defenses. The battle was intense, with both sides unleashing their full range of abilities. Xander's dark magic and strategic prowess made them a challenging opponent, but the team's determination and coordination proved to be a powerful counter. Rimuru used his abilities to neutralize Xander's magical attacks and protect his allies. Rias and Akeno combined their strategic and magical talents to target Xander's vulnerabilities. Issei's combat skills and resilience played a key role in disrupting Xander's attacks and securing their position. As the battle progressed, the team began to gain the upper hand. Their unified efforts and strategic approach allowed them to overcome Xander's defenses and expose their vulnerabilities. The tide of the battle turned in their favor, and Xander's confidence began to waver. In a final, desperate move, Xander attempted to unleash a devastating ritual using the remaining energy from the eclipse core. However, the team's quick thinking and coordination prevented the ritual from completing. Rias and Rimuru launched a decisive attack, neutralizing Xander and bringing the final confrontation to a close. With Xander defeated, the Veil's operations were effectively dismantled. The remaining Veil forces were either captured or dispersed, and the threat they posed was brought to an end. The team's victory was a testament to their resolve, unity, and determination. As the dust settled, Rias and her team stood together in the aftermath of the battle. They had faced numerous challenges and adversaries, but their efforts had ultimately led to a decisive victory. Rias turned to her team, her voice filled with gratitude and pride. "We've achieved a great victory today. Our fight against the Veil has been long and difficult, but our unity and determination have seen us through." Rimuru nodded, his expression reflective. "Our success is a result of our collective efforts and the strength of our alliances. We've faced many trials, but we've overcome them together. With the Veil's threat neutralized and their mission complete, the team prepared to return to their normal lives. They had forged strong bonds through their shared experiences and emerged stronger as a result. As they looked to the future, Rias and her team knew that their victory was not just about defeating a formidable foe, but also about the strength and unity they had found in each other. Their journey had brought them closer together and reaffirmed their commitment to protecting their world. The end. Thanks for watching. Please drop 3 blue heart if you enjoyed the story.